Ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. Presented by Carolina Lightweight. Come live with us. When the action begins in the studio, our referees for tonight's event are Elgato Azul and Carolina Real Streamers. For the viewers in attendance and Facebook and YouTube users around the world, this is the moment you've all been waiting for. Live from the Elgato Azul TV studio in Louisville, Texas, it's time! What's up, slime lovers? I'm your host, Chris, a.k.a. Elgato Azul. Tonight, my partner in slime, my brother from another mother, Vess Cooks. Welcome to the Slime Show, baby. How's it going, Vess?
Going good, y'all. Going good.
So we've had Vess on the show before. And, you know, Vess is one of my teammates. He's a longtime Texas angler guy, tournament guy, big fish extraordinaire. Vess, appreciate you coming on the show tonight. For those that don't know, Jamie is on his way to Pennsylvania for the Great American Outdoors Convention or something to that effect. So it's going to be me and Vess tonight.
Safe travels, Jamie.
Yeah, they're heading up into bad weather, so hopefully they'll be safe. It's nasty up there, but Vess, tonight we're going to be talking about going shallow in the winter. So normally this is our coldest time of the year. We got 70-degree temps on the way with rain the next few days.
Nothing is certain.
Figured we make a good show to talk about going shallow. So for those that don't know you, Vess, I know we've had you on before, but do a quick rundown of where you're from and a quick background.
Oh, man. Moved to Texas in 2005, and I lived close to Eagle Mountain Lake. Got on my first feet wet in Texas waters. I grew up fishing rivers. Long story short, still here in Texas, don't plan on leaving, and I think we got the best fishing in the world.
Yeah, we got some really good fishing. Probably not the biggest fish, but we got some big ones. Big enough to wet my whistle.
Yes, sir.
Looks like we got Jamie and Rebecca in chat, so I guess they're following along on the road. Got Ryan Smith in the house, Owen Coke, Joe Baker, Bernie McBride. Welcome in, guys. Appreciate y'all stopping in. Got a few filtering in. Here they come. Appreciate y'all stopping in. We're going to go off tonight. We're going to do some tips, tricks, tactics for going shallow, when, why, where. So, Vess, you've been fishing deep. I already know. What makes you want to go shallow?
The rapid change. I look at the forecast just all the time, but seeing that we're going to be 70s in February, which is, like Chris said, it's normally our coldest month here in Texas. I think we're going to have a real quick spring. There's no way to water. We'd have to have a blizzard sometime after here in the next couple of weeks, which we know we're not going to have at the end of February. Not going to happen.
Yeah, now that you say that, it'll probably have a winter snowstorm in March. We've had them, so
yeah.
You know, I'm with you. I think it's probably going to be an early spring. We'll still gonna have some cold fronts that'll move them around. But I'm with you. I think they're going to start transitioning into shallow water. We got big rain.
Yeah.
Got warm up, 70-degree temps for almost a week. That's going to rapidly change some things. So why do they go shallow?
Bait moves shallow, water influx because bait goes to the water. I mean, there's
current. So you got current, you got dirty water coming in.
Yes. Movements down. Yeah.
Fish like to be comfortable, don't they?
Yes, they do.
That shallow water warms up a lot faster. The creeks, when it's raining warm water, you got to warm up in the shallows. Now, if we do have a cold front with cold rain, that could move everything back out. But, we got 70-degree temps all through the week.
Yeah.
So any of you guys that are fishing this big tournament coming to town this week at Ray Hubbard, the Twisted Cat, there are going to be several patterns to fish. I'm betting there's going to be a shallow water pattern, probably somewhere up around the creeks. And there's probably going to be some kind of holding, since it's pretty early for it to be springtime. I think some are going to hold back. There's going to be a biomass that's going to stay in mid-depth, I think.
Yes. That'll be fun, too.
So if one doesn't work for you, go look for the other. I think that would be my recommendation. I'm not able to fish this weekend, so
I am.
You got a trip?
Yeah, I got a trip. Church group I'd take out. It'd be my second trip with them. Last trip was pretty successful. We didn't find the big fish I wanted to get, but we found some fish. And this time I ain't even been out on Levant for about a month, and I'm gonna go shoot the whole lake.
Yeah.
Just to have fun, because I know I'm gonna be able to find some fish. I know it.
Which arm are you gonna fish? You got any idea? Are you gonna look at rainfall, or you just gonna roll with it?
I'm gonna fish the same arm we've been kind of stretching up there,
Yeah.
but probably a lot shallower.
Yeah, that north section, probably up north of the bridge, or
no, probably close to there, but
just
not
south of the bridge in the timber.
Because you got
Wind blown or creek mouth type scenario.
Yes, and actually, my last trip out, I actually found a creek that I drove by, of course, full bore, never really paid attention to, but I marked so many fish, and it was the end of my fishing day that day, and it's on my mind to go hit that creek with this rain. It's on my mind.
Yeah, Vess is texting me. He's like, "You see this rain, this warm up coming?" I say, "Yeah, and I can see the wheels turning in your brain across town."
Yeah, yes, sir.
We think the same. Guys, there's two patterns up shallow. You got creek mouth pattern where there's water coming in and the fish want to move into that current, and then you've got protected cove type pattern where you got sunshine warming up an area that has no wind on it. I believe this area is going to be obviously the rainfall one, where it's warm rain coming into the creeks, flowing into the lake. That tends to, this time of year, can be a feeding frenzy up in there.
Yes, sir.
I think some of them might hold back and kind of not sure about it because it's only February 1st.
Yeah. They don't know that, but yeah, they're just looking for the changes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to go scanning tomorrow or Saturday to figure them out. It's been a weird year, man. They're hard to dial in.
Right.
Everything's a little different.
Nothing's for certain anymore. Pattern wise, it's go find the fish and find the fish that are biting. It's just,
and if that doesn't work, do the opposite of what you normally do.
Right.
All right, we got some more people feeding in. Let's see here. Leland Loy, welcome in, Lee. Eagle Eyes Tienda, what's up, Juan? We had one on last week. That was a fun show. Joshua McPherson, welcome in. Joe Baker, Hector Muniz. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but Ryan Smith says he's going shallow this weekend.
Yeah,
well, you're a shallow fishing fool. I bet it pays off for you. I don't know that I would do it on Louisville. That lake's difficult. After they go deep, it's a different beast. I would go to a different lake, Ryan. Go up to
go to Ray Roberts or anywhere but Louisville. I wouldn't fish Louisville till the water's in the 60s. That's just, it's a brutal light until that happens. Victor Ramirez, welcome in. Brad Sparks, welcome. Average Joe Catfishing, what's up? Nathan Lorick, good luck at the Twisted Cats.
Yes, sir.
Justin Cox, I don't think he's fishing it. How come you're not fishing it this year? How come you're not fishing it, Vess?
Some other stuff going on. This is my busy time for my work this time. Yeah, between November and March is but I don't let it. I do my overtime during the week so I can fish on my weekend.
Cross-eyed Catfishing, welcome in, bro. All right, we're caught up. We are caught up. So when you're looking shallow, tell us how you do it. Tell us what you're doing, what you're looking for, what makes you stop, and what area are you trying to focus on?
I'm looking for active fish. If I don't see a fish, I don't mark what I don't. If I don't see what I'd like on that screen, I keep going. I anchor for the fish I see, the fish I want to catch.
Yeah.
I don't, because baits in the area are not that. I've actually done worse or better on the days that I didn't pay attention to that. Pay attention to what the fish are doing. If they're sitting out in front of the timber or any type of structure, or they're sitting behind it, when you scan a different way coming around.
When you creep up in there, are you on the big motor? You start marking fish and get on the electric motor?
So when I get 10 feet and under, I'm normally off my big motor.
Yeah.
I'm normally off my big motor and cruising with the trolling motor. If it's a big flat out in the middle of the lake, I'm on big motor. If the fish are on their flat, they're looking to eat. I don't think they care about your motor at that point.
And at what depth?
Let's say 5 foot and lower.
So you'll be on the big motor even out in the middle of the lake, 5 feet?
Yep.
No shit.
Yep. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I marked the flat 13 feet Saturday afternoon when I was getting bait, and it looked so good. I was like, I'm about to fish this, boy. It had a bunch of 40s and some 50s on it. It probably had 10 giant fish. I mean, it was loaded with big fish. Well, I turned around to go fish it. When I scanned it again, every one of them was gone.
Yep.
I spooked them all.
Yeah.
They left. So they might come back. They might settle down and come back in 30 minutes. But I was like, I ain't even gonna mess with it. I'm gonna go get my bait.
Right. I think warm in the water, you can get away with it a little bit better. They're not so spooky. We know they're kind of slow moving in cold water, but I think they pay attention to everything a lot more that's going on. And then there's not so much activity. Summertime, you got more boats on the water, more noise.
Yeah.
You know, so it kind of blends.
Yeah. Joshua McPherson says ripples.
Yes, sir.
Love seeing ripples.
Yes, sir.
I like seeing wakes.
Yeah.
That's what really gets me excited.
And that's another thing I do. I'll go 2 foot with big motor.
Yeah.
I'll tilt my motor up. I'll gas and splash water to see where the wakes go.
Okay. You know, I've heard of guys throwing on them when they see where they run off to.
Yeah, see right where they want. I've seen 2 big tournaments, one like that on Tawakoni up in Tallman Timber, up down there on the east, southeast end of the day. I've seen 2 tournaments, one that way. Guy going in there splashing and spooked the fish and threw right on those fish and caught those fish. Now I've used that technique, foot and a half of water.
Mark Hicks says he looks for wind-blown mud flats in less than 8 feet.
Yeah, buddy.
Yep, those warm up faster. So
yes, they do.
Here's one thing that can negate that this time of year when you got deep water in the south end of the lake that's cold, and you got wind blowing out of the south into that shallow water that you think's going to be warm. Once you get up there, you realize, damn, this is actually colder because there's that wind blowing action has created this conveyor belt that's bringing cold water up in there. So sometimes you do need to get it out of the wind, and sometimes you got to get into a protected area, and all of a sudden the water's 10 degrees warmer up in there. So that's a little trick for some of you guys. You're also looking for warmer water on this pattern. You're looking for, and it might only be 2 degrees.
2 degrees, yeah, it'll make a difference.
It makes a difference. And if you start getting up there and it's colder, the fish probably not going to be in there. You need to find in this scenario, you need to find a little bit warmer water. I don't recall ever moving to colder water this time of year and it being loaded with big fish. Nathan Lork says, just look for the Gamel's War Machine, and then you'll know they're there. Oh, man, that's good stuff. El Catfish Grande, what's up, buddy? It's been a while. I hadn't been fishing. I think you've been up fishing for crappie, so we'll forgive you.
Rebecca and Jamie said, make sure to hit those thumbs ups.
Brad Sparks says, looking at getting a new fish finder. Currently have a Lowrance Hook 212 triple shot. What do y'all recommend? I recommend getting the new Explore Humminbird.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be a game changer.
Yes, sir.
I can guarantee you it's going to be top notch, because Humminbird, when they drop something new, it's always good. It's got, I'm a Humminbird guy, and
yeah, me too.
Most guys that come on my boat that have other brands are like, man, you got me wanting to get a Humminbird. And mine's a 10-year-old unit. So you know, my buddy was saying, yeah, you need to get one of these, you know, one of the touch screens. I'm like, it's the same tech as what I got. I'm going to wait till they drop the new. He's like, well, they got a big rebate. I'm like, that right there tells me there's a new one coming. So, and it wasn't a month later, they announced that Explorer. So it's hitting the market now. I know Juan Tienda's got one. My installer said he's got 3 on the way. You know, they're doing big things right now at Minn Kota. So, or at Humminbird and Minn Kota. So they got a new trolling motor. That's, I mean, have you seen that new trolling motor, Vess?
Man, you see the prices on those new
Dude,
motors?
the size of it. My buddy installs them. He's like, man, I had to have help to lift it up into the boat. It looks like a full size motor.
Yeah, it's good. For the
is.
Prices they have on them. Good Lord.
That was like $4,400 or something crazy.
You should be able to get a nice, good used boat for that. Now you just
dude, I've had many a boats for that price when I was younger.
God.
There ain't nothing cheap now, though.
No.
But hey, that Explorer grabs like $2,600 for.
Yeah.
Well,
I think I'm gonna find
not that bad.
I think I'm
about the same price as that Helix 10 years ago when I bought it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I want the Solix 3 though. I've gotten kind of used to Trent's on his boat, and plus it hooks to that new Live View 2. That's what
you can update the Solix 3 with the firmware of the new Explorer, so you can still get all the features. Yeah. It's not going to have the same processor, and he said the graphics not going to be. He's like, man, when you see what this Explorer looks like, it's freaking insane. And I'm like, oh, now you got me excited.
Exactly.
I was going to get my truck lifted. I'm like, now you got me thinking I'm going to have to blow all that money on graphs and boat toys. Chris Wheeler says, good strategy. Billy Bever says, 3 thumbs up. Catfish Junkie, what's up, everybody? What's up, bro? You still pulling your boards in shallow water or anchoring? It really depends on the fishery. A lot of our fisheries, the mouths of these creeks are not draggable. There's just too much debris up in them.
Yeah.
They got standing timber. They got flushed in whole trees and root balls, and you can't drag them. But a lot of some of these lakes you can. My home lake, you can drag. Texoma, you can drag. This lake that they're fishing for this tournament this weekend, you can't. And Lavon, the lake I've been fishing, you can't. You have to anchor. So it really depends on the fishery. Bending tips. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Bill. Bill's police officer. He's got to work the Fort Worth stock show, so he can't fish. But Bill, it's a big warm up, man. As soon as that stock show's done, I'll meet you up there at Texoma, and I want to watch an 80-pounder pull you around in that kayak. 4-digit. Welcome in, bro. Good evening, slime show people. Yeah, we try to answer all these. We'll try to answer everybody's questions. Usually I got Jamie and Rebecca feeds him questions that people ask, and Jamie's pretty good at keeping up. I'm not as good because I've got YouTube. I got StreamYard right here, but it doesn't seem to pick up all of Facebook's comments. I've got Facebook open, but I don't even see comments coming across on this. I'm technically challenged.
Hey, what's up, El Catfish Grande? Jamie.
All right, now I see comments. A lot of these are coming through StreamYard.
I don't see any on there.
All right, I'm caught up. We're caught up. So you're moving shallow. You're on your electric motor. You're scanning. What makes you stop?
Fish.
Yeah. Seeing one good one, seeing a few good ones. Start seeing a couple, you're in the right area.
Yeah. I start and then cruise around. And then if I start seeing more and more, I'll go to electric motor, not to spook them. But when I can't find them, I'm in, let's say, 300, 400, 500 yards wide open. I'll burp my motor, splash the water and watch the wakes, and I'll anchor. Then I'll go back and anchor probably 100 feet off of them and cast to them, not to spook them anymore. And that's one of my shallow water techniques that I use a lot.
Yeah. So Brad Spark says, do y'all do any fishing on Eagle Mountain Lake?
So my son is a current record holder. He had junior angler and senior angler on Eagle Mountain. His senior angler has been beaten here, I guess, a year or two ago. But it's 50.45, and that was in 2014.
You don't fish Eagle Mountain a whole lot anymore.
Not anymore.
It doesn't have a lot of really big fish in it, correct?
No, a lot of 30s.
I'd say it's a similar lake to Louisville.
Yeah.
In fish quality.
But it's the boat ramp price, dude. 20, 25, $30 to launch on a holiday.
Why do they do that, do you think?
I don't know, because I don't see any improvements to the ramps. So I think somebody's just pocketing that money. But
yeah,
I probably cleared more jugs off that lake than I've ever seen anybody, part or paid wise to do. But yeah, the ramp prices, it's a nice lake. And you can get away from the pleasure boaters, go north or.
Yeah, I like that it's got boathouses and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm like, man, I could see myself having a lake house on that lake, but the only problem is it don't have very many big fish in it.
No.
So I'm like, I don't really want to fish a lake all the time. I mean, my lake, I grew up on a lake that don't have a lot of big fish. It's got bigger fish than Eagle Mountain, but it doesn't have a lot. And guys like, man, you hammer big fish. I'm like, yeah, but when you see what I go do on a better lake, I mean, I'd rather just go drive an hour so I can go get them every trip. I mean, I like to get them every trip this time of year. So,
yes, sir.
Jason Shaw says, now you got me worried and stressed. I was going to focus around the old boat ramp and levee this weekend. Now I'm rethinking it. I would rethink it. And if you're going to fish the levee, I would fish probably the north levee right next to the timber. me and Vess were talking before the show. All the fish, it's not like they all go off the same program. They don't all just do it all instantaneously at once. We do have a warm up, and we do have rain, but that doesn't mean everything runs up in there. And I've done really good in mid depth when everybody else said you got to go shallow, and I just like to check on my way shallow.
Yes.
I'm the type of angler that usually puts in the deep water. It's just how I've always done it. And even now, I still typically start out in the deeper water. And then as I'm driving up where I think, all right, they're going to be shallow, I still, there's just something in my nature that's always checked that mid depth on my way to shallow water. And you'd be surprised. Sometimes it will surprise you. It's, there will be giant group of fish kind of in a holding pattern waiting to go shallow where a lot of fish have already gone shallow. So I think there will be two patterns. You just got to go. You never know till you go. Oh, wow. There's no one-way guaranteed pattern. It's a transition, and they transition at different rates. So
Rebecca and Jamie said, Vess, what size baits are you using in shallow water this time of year? Big. I'm the type of guy, I don't downsize my hooks. I run a 10-aught all year. I run a 10, unless I got customers and they want eater fish. And even then, I'm hesitant to downsize my hooks. I stick with the same program that I know.
You downsized some hooks this past.
Yeah, 8-aughts, and actually, that's what I caught that 50 off of was a 8-aught hook, and I'm talking about it looked like
even when you go to like Eagle Mountain, you switch to Eagle Mountain, you're still going to go with a 10-aught.
10-aught hook. Them 2, 3, 4 pound fish find a way to hook themselves through their skull.
Yeah. You put it through their eyeball.
Yeah, through their eyeball.
Pirate fish.
I don't downsize. Now I'll make the bait smaller.
Yeah, I do that.
The warmer the water, the smaller the bait. That's what I do. And I'll still
not always, because when I go up to Texoma, I'm still chunking giant baits.
Yeah, and not even all my poles. I'll still have 2 big baits out at least. If I have 8 poles out, I got 2 big baits on there at least. Yeah. But
yeah, I'm the same. I don't like. I'll start transitioning going up to Texoma about when this warm up starts happening. And I like to go shallow up there because there's monsters fish up there. I mean, giants. They like big baits. I mean, they like big baits. Yeah. They're up in that. I see them up there. There's generally not very much bait where I fish up there. Yeah. It's all carp. I mean, all carp, alligator gar up in there feeding on carp and only big fish. And then as you move a little further out away from those gar and those carp, then you'll start seeing bait and smaller fish. Yes. Every lake's different. So, they all fish a little different in the transition. I will say that.
How shallow do you fish, Chris? I don't think I've ever seen you.
I fish starting about now. I start looking. I'll look like if I were to go up to Texoma, I would start looking into. I would run right now all the way to 2 feet.
Okay.
And then I would work my way back out. On all the other lakes, I would start out in 25, 30 feet, and work my way up to 2 feet.
Yeah.
That lake up at Texoma just is different. I try to get right up in there in the mouth of that creek and then drag my way out.
Yeah.
It's clean. You can drag up there.
Yeah.
So it transitions from 2 feet to 12 feet on one drag.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of lakes, you got to pick your spot anchor.
Yeah.
And so that's why I do it that way up there. I've noticed on that fishery, the biggest fish are in the shallowest water. And as you work your way out, then you start getting into so right up there towards the mouth is where we've caught most of our like 60s, 70s, 80s. And then as you work your way back out and get out to about 10 feet, you're starting to catch 40s, 30s. Yeah. And then 15 feet, you're catching a lot of 30s and 20s.
Yeah.
And occasionally you will get a big one out there as well. But I just feel like I've caught so many more big ones up in that shallow area up there. Now, other lakes, that shallow water's chock full of threadfin, and it's every size fish up in there chasing those things. I think what makes Texoma different is it's got alligator gar, and small catfish do not like to be around those. They get away from those damn things because they're food. And but big fish, they don't. They follow them around. So guys like, I gotta move away from the gar. I'm like, you're moving away from the biggest fish in the fishery if you do that. So you do have to figure out what the pattern is for each lake. They are a little bit different. Up there, I'm fishing around the carp. A lot of these other fisheries, I'm fishing springtime. It's like I'm fishing the flow, and a lot of times it's threadfin up in there. And then as the spring gets warmer, there's crappie and bluegill up in there. And I mean, you can use pretty much any bait on Texoma. You can use if you catch it legally. And, it's not the case for all our other lakes, but guys like, what bait? I'm like, use what bait is in the area is generally going to be your best bait for the spring pattern. And it's one of the only times of the year I'll actually use threadfin. I don't like to use them, but sometimes that's what they're eating up in there, and that's what you want to use. So we're a ways from the threadfin. I know we're getting off topic a little bit. Threadfin spawn, we're a ways from that. That's 70-degree water. Right now, we're talking inflow and the warm-up. Cookies Outdoor says church is in session. Corey Whaley says, what's good, everyone? Brad Spark says, what's your go-to rig setup, Vess?
So me, I make my own more of a snagless weight. It's basically a torpedo shape. The mold actually has two eyelets on one end, but on the heavier end, I don't put an eyelet, and I just hook those.
Yeah.
I don't use anything that slides on my line, so they're
three-way swivel,
hooked, locked in place. I don't like
Carolina rig, or you still use a Santee?
Still a Santee. Fixed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do a similar deal.
Yeah.
If I'm going to anchor, I use a coin sinker. If I'm going to drag, I use a Carolina lightweight. I do switch to a three-way swivel in the spring, or starting, really soon. I haven't done it yet because I'm going to wait till I think that I might have to anchor.
Yeah.
But, if I were going to fish in a lake where I knew I was anchoring, I would put my three-way swivels on.
Definitely.
That way I can still drag and I can anchor.
Yep. I can just switch to it. Literally, that's the one best thing about the Carolina lake weights. It just kind of, it fit my program and how I fish. I literally got either one of those little, looks like a little paperclip snap on there to.
Yeah, easy.
New version that Jamie and them done has a snap on it. So that saved me right there on just clips and then something extra else tangling. But the Carolina weights fell into my fishing program because it went with my rig with no other alterations. The shallower I am, I'll move my float so my bait's hanging deeper, not floating on top of the water.
I do the same.
Yeah. So. And
what about dragging? What do you do differently when you're dragging shallow?
When I'm dragging shallow, same setup, Carolina weight, and I
got to get your baits close to the bottom when you're dragging.
Yep.
Let's say you're up on the mud flat. You keeping the bait slower.
I go
slower.
Yeah.
Baits close to the bottom.
Yes.
That's what I do.
Yep.
I try to get my baits real close to the bottom. Fish that are up shallow, a lot of times are laying in the mud. They just hugging the bottom. They're not up off the bottom as much.
And if you think, though, you're moving, that you're making a mud trail, you're making kind of something they can see is more visual. Then you get the sound from your rattles and then the scent from your bait. So it all just kind of comes together on that rig. I'm gonna get one of those weights to show.
Yeah, let's see it. Guys that don't know Vess is top-notch angler. He's been hammering fish for as long as I can ever remember in Texas. He owns records. He's a guide, longtime guide, tournament angler. Does real well. So, what's up, Boskin? What's up, Mac? Craig, what's up, bro? Todd, what's up, man? Jimmy Floyd, welcome. Jimmy, I need to bring that knife in here and show off that knife you made me. Jimmy Floyd made me this badass bait knife. It says Elgato Azul on it. It's got his stamp. It's like a Bowie knife for cutting bait. It's an awesome knife. Appreciate you sending me that, Jimmy. Really cool, man. Landon Mac, welcome. So this is going to come in and show you his go-to weight he likes to anchor up with. Vess is an old schooler like me. He started out on the rope. Over the years, he actually drags probably more than he's on the rope. But for forever, he's been anchoring here in Texas for 20 years. So I've known Vess for a long time just because he's kind of a Texas legend. So he doesn't do a whole lot of social media like a lot of guys do. So you might not have heard of him, but if you're from Texas, you definitely know Vess. Yeah, I appreciate that, Jimmy. Awesome knife. Really generous of you. I appreciate it, man. I used it last weekend. It's cut those big baits like butter. So who all's fishing this Twisted Cats tournament down the road from me this weekend? Should be an interesting interesting tournament. We've had a big warm-up after it being in the 20s. Rain coming into the lake. Welcome in, Nathan. Rain coming into the lake, and it's going to mess some things up for a lot of guys, what they thought they were going to do. Jamie and Rebecca says, wish we were. Hell, if y'all were coming in town, I might actually cancel my son's basketball game and we'd all go fish it. But I can't miss his sports no matter what. I'm going to the sports. That's the most important thing. So then Sunday, he's got a kiddie birthday party at a indoor water park. Jamie said he wants one of those knives. Jimmy, I'll get you in contact with Jimmy. He made a badass knife. It's really cool, man. It was sharp as a razor blade, sharper than a razor blade that got here. It cut right through bone and everything. So
it's raining.
Yeah. When I walked out to the shop, it was raining. I'm like,
it's raining.
Immediately I'm thinking, damn, that's going to change everything for these guys at this time.
So, and I do what I call battle cat fishing. I'll throw up in the reeds. I'll throw up in some tight timber with these, and they pull out.
Yeah, I like
most of the time. Yeah. So, and the original mold has another hook or eyelet down here, but I just omit that, and that's what I use.
Yeah, I've got some of that style, but the eye is made out of lead.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah.
And if I'm on a mud flat where I know I'm going to anchor, just an old regular disc sinker.
That's what I use. I use those and the coffins with eyes.
Yeah. But those are.
I'm telling the guys, you're old school, but old school on the rope anchor guy. Back in the day, we all used coffin sinkers on the no roll.
No rolls. Yeah. After I
Times
lost a few
changed,
fish,
man. I don't
you
fish.
go 2 or 3
I don't
trips.
fish anywhere like I used to fish back then.
No, not anyway. No, not at all.
Brad says, "Heck yeah, appreciate you, Vess."
No problem.
Realist Fishing says we call those torpedo weights.
Torpedo weights. That's what I say. Yeah, it looks like a torpedo. Yeah. I actually know a guy that drifts with those 4 ounce, and he's doing it. I mean, he drifts with those. Yeah, he don't use slinky weights.
20 years ago, we drifted with coffins.
Yeah. Pencil weight.
It was a real rough.
Yeah.
It was a real rough drag. Brought a lot of extra tackle. Justin Cox says he's pulling for the Texoma guys for the tournament. Man, I got so many buddies from Texas that are fishing. I got buddies from all over fishing it. So I'm pulling for my buddies. I'm pulling for my Texas boys.
Hey, El Catfish Grande, what's up, man? You still got those rods? I ain't seen no more videos.
He's crappie fishing, man. Bait fishing.
Oh.
Bait fishing the last year. I used to see him dragging out all the time. Well, I don't fish Louisville a lot anymore, but I've seen him all over. I don't remember where I saw him last time. Seemed like it was Texoma or somewhere.
Yeah.
What kind of weights will it take to win the Twisty Cats?
If they're shallow. So Hubbard's one of my. I go to that lake specifically for the flatheads. I've got a good timing on them. I know some real good spots that I've actually I've won a flathead tournament. Me and Paul Miles a few years back. But it's I had some customers out. There's a group of guys, union pipe fitters at that. So you can imagine the conversation on the boat. Them old boys had my sides hurting, but we caught some damn good fish. We actually were able to run up on the reeds. I got it on video. The blue cats were attacking the drum and cart out of the dens and driving them out. And I'm talking about we seen them coming up over the top of them and fighting like sharks.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, and so but that's the north end. That's north of 66. There's a whole lot of north of 66, but it's just north of 66. I'm just saying. That's where I would be.
Oh man,
that's where I would be. That or the power plant washout.
Yeah.
So there's two parts of that power plant. There's one that a lot of people really don't recognize as part of the power plant. But if you get on that little rock ledge coming out there that keeps it off the main lake, I'm just saying there's been a 55-pound flathead boated right there. Right? I mean,
yeah, was that big one that come off of
3 blues in the same area, about 30 pounds plus.
Milton's buddy, didn't he catch a big one out of it?
Oh yeah, Manny. Oh
yeah,
Manny, yeah.
Manny
does very well on that lake.
Could have been the lake record. I can't remember.
Yeah,
hard to keep up with all my buddies, man, breaking all these records. I got some badass fishing friends.
Hey, when you think about it, yeah, it's cool. Like me and Trent, he's popped the lake record not once but twice, and we just, people know us and know our boats, and
yeah,
it's more, a brother thing. It's a brother damn. He caught this damn fish right here. Yeah.
So El Catfish Grande says no crappie fishing, Azul. I thought you were crappie fishing. I don't know why I thought that.
He bought some of those Hellcat rods off him before I went to
okay.
Cats. Yeah, I sold him damn Big Cat Fever. That's what they were, Big Cat Fever rods. The original.
Those new ones that come out with look pretty good.
Yeah.
Like the handles.
I think I'm due for a set of those black Mad Cats.
Chris Garcia says, you fishing this weekend? I am not fishing this weekend. I got my son's basketball game Saturday, and then he's got a water park birthday party Sunday. So be the first weekend I hadn't fished in.
I
don't even know how long. It's been forever, but
yeah, I got client Saturday and Sunday's gonna be for me, and I'm just trying to decide where I'm gonna go.
I wonder if William Oliver's fishing that tournament. I got a treat for you guys. I got William Oliver committed to come on the show. He's going to talk about catching giant flatheads with live scope. So anybody that doesn't know William, he's was a longtime crappie guide who figured out how to catch these giant flatheads with live scope, and he catches them all winter long in 40-degree water. He's catching big flatheads with live scope.
He put the biggest Central Texas Catfish Trail stringer up with their classic in, I believe, January, December, whatever month they had their classic. He brought in a 400-pound stringer, all flatheads.
That's insane.
The biggest stringer ever caught. I haven't even seen any in any other tournaments. 400-pound stringer.
That's because nobody knows how to catch flatheads out of a lake, man. It's an untapped resource. And when I was a kid, my home lake produced the world record flathead. And it was 70s, 80s, 90s caught out of it damn near every week.
Yep.
But they were catching them with snag lines.
Yeah.
And they were legal at the time. In the 80s and early 90s, they were legal. And they outlawed them. And then all of a sudden, nobody's catching them anymore. So a lot of guys said they're gone. They cleaned them out. I'm like, well, ain't nobody fishing for them the way that they used to fish for them with those snag lines. There got to be some left in there. So I'm thinking, hell, I booked me a trip with William Oliver to learn how to live scope those damn things off timber in July. So that's late July, Friday, I think July 18th.
Yeah.
If you want to roll. Yeah. Might learn.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely look at that. Yeah,
might learn how to catch some flatheads in July and August.
I'll put it to you.
He's like, this is what I did in July, and he had just like 60 fish over 50 pounds just for July. He's like a whole sheet of 50, 60-pound flatheads. I'm like, all right, maybe I'm gonna be having to invest in some live scope.
Can you imagine how the surprise when he actually did that for the first time intentionally, like figured that out?
A lot of my buddies that are hardcore crappie anglers are like, you can see them all the time. When you're fishing for crappie, you'll see them move in and the crappie all scatter and move to another tree close to it.
Wow.
And then you'll see them the big flatheads just kind of cruise in. My buddy's like, you can see the whiskers on them with live scope. You can see the whiskers. I'm like, I was asking him questions. This was yesterday. I'm thinking, all right. Now I'm thinking, all right.
You're spending my money now.
I'm like, how far out do they reach? Because I'm thinking it's like a 15, 20-foot deal. No. He's like, no, man, it's 100 feet. He's like, I can look out onto a tree that's 100 feet out and scope it. And I'm like, okay.
Technology.
I'm like, all right.
God.
20
years ago we were on flashers, and now we can see what we're fishing.
It's crazy, right? What's it gonna be next? So Jason Burns said William Oliver is the GOAT. He is the GOAT of freaking live scoping flatheads, because he's the first guy I ever heard that could actually freaking go out and do it every trip. Every trip. And even now, guys say flatheads don't bite in cold water. He's proven that wrong, because go look at his stuff. He's freaking catching them right now. Water was 42. He was putting flatheads in the boat.
Was it December?
What's that?
Classic? Central Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, he brought a 400-pound stringer in December.
That's crazy to me.
All flatheads. No blues. Crazy. All flatheads both days of the tournament. He had 2 5-fish stringers.
William is down on he's in Central Texas. He fishes the Central Texas Tournament Trail. His lake is like Lake Palestine. Hell, I can't get Lake Palestine, I believe is what we call it in Texas. But I can tell you, most of our big fish lakes in Texas have giant flatheads in them. Most guys just don't. I mean, guys just don't know how to catch them out of a lake. They're just difficult to catch.
They're
But if you
smart.
got
They move. They're smart in lakes.
you got live scope,
Chris
that's
Garcia, am I going out? I'm going out Saturday. Go deep, brother. I would check both. If, I like the fish, all of them don't move at once. You're gonna have some deep. You're gonna have some mid depth. You're gonna have some. It's gonna be a transition. Everybody didn't go like spawn. Doesn't happen all at the same time. I believe there's fish that do it real early and some do
yeah,
it real late.
definitely. And I would say the biggest, baddest fish typically start looking first. They move up into the spawning habitat first. And usually, as prime temperature for spawning happens, your fish size starts going down.
Yep.
Because the best ones, they're looking for the high value real estate. So they move up in there and guard it first, and they want to take that best spot. So the biggest, baddest ones, they start getting close. Guys like, what makes them go shallow? Well, multiple things. Right now, it's temperature. It's comfort. They want to be comfortable, and that current has bait and stuff being flushed in. Things flushing in, bait runs up in there and eats. Carp run up in there and eat. Big fish move in there to eat those carp, to eat that debris that's flowing in. And as it gets warmer, we get a threadfin spawn, and then they move in to feed on the threadfin, and all species of fish move in there to feed on the threadfin. And then after the threadfin spawn, it's time for the blue cats to spawn. So it starts to become party's over after that pretty quick. Usually about 2 weeks after those threadfins spawn, big fish bite, damn near over. So it warms up quickly that time of year. Shallow water warms up a lot faster than the deep water. So like Vess said, they don't all do it at once. So you may have fish on the north end start getting ready to spawn. You may have some fish that stay. You do have fish that are localized type fish. They don't like to run up into the river to spawn. You got some that spawn in the lake. So they stay back, and you'll see most fish, the early ones start on the north end, the late ones do it on the south end where it's deeper.
Owen Cox said, how do each of you target flatheads? Different rigs, tackle, line, patterns, etc. from blues? Only live bait or cut bait work too?
I typically, if I'm going to do it, I typically fish timber piles, submerged timber in less than 10 feet of water. That's where I target them with live. I like green sunfish, but I'll use bluegill. Bluegill don't live very long. And that's how I do it. Now I used to fish for them heavily at the floodgates when I was younger.
Oh yeah.
And that was fun. But with the laws after 9/11, they pretty much made it where you can't hardly fish any of these floodgates anymore. And then the immigrants have ruined a lot of it too, because they just come in and there's 20 of them there where you really can't fish it the way we used to fish it. Too many guys up in there chunking over your lines.
Me personally, I've caught more flatheads on cut bait than I have live. I take both, but 9 times out of 10,
William Oliver has arrived. Somebody said the goat has arrived. Welcome in. We're gonna get William on soon. So
but I look for timber piles, especially brush piles. You can't go wrong with a brush pile. The shallower the water, the better. If I'm in deeper water, when I say deep, I mean more than 10 foot. I'm looking for rocks, boulders, big slab rocks with holes. I don't know if anybody. First time I got $11.99. I think my next 3 fishing trips, I didn't catch 8 fish. because I was looking at all the stuff I had fished before. So I'm a graph guy. I watch what's going on my graph, and you can find holes and stuff easy. Washed out banks. You got tree limbs. If you got big older bearing trees that are still on the edge of the bank, there's holes under there 9 times out of 10. 9 times out of 10. Any big rocky drop offs. I mean, it got to be straight down, but even if they're just subtle, the bigger the rocks, I've always caught bigger fish around those big rocks.
Yeah. It's a home zone for them.
Yeah.
They like to bury down in underneath those rocks.
Yeah.
I've seen. I mean, I've caught enough of them around there to know they like those rocks. And
Yes.
I've seen guys scuba diving them, and I'm like, damn, look at all those flatheads laying under those freaking rocks like that. I mean, they like those rocks. They like crevices. They're crevice type
ambush
creatures. Yeah, they like to hide. They like to ambush. Chris Garcia, should I move past that timber? And I'd say, Chris, a lot of times the blues are on the edge of the timber because they like to move in, and attack. They'll move in and hit crappie, bluegill, things that are moving up and down on that timber. They'll move in and hit that. And one thing I've noticed is when if I'm catching flatheads in timber, they're right on there. I mean, they're locked on it, usually pretty much right on it. So you got to be right up in it, and you're losing a lot of times you're losing rigs up in there. If you get a real big one, they run pretty quick into a snag. So, but I drag the edge of it for blues. Big blues love to be on the edge of timber.
Yes.
Caught some of my best fish right on the edge of timber.
If the wind's blowing on that side of it, like say you got a south wind and you're coming into the south end of that tree line, you 9 times 10 you could actually anchor off of it or spot lock off of it and cast in. One of my best days I ever had on Tawakoni. Me, Paul Miles, and what's his name? Jimbo. We took turns catching the fish. We caught so many fish that day. I've never been tired from fishing other than coastal fishing. But yeah, it was that wind-blown timber in shallow water. You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. You're bound to catch something.
Killer B says, should I short my laders when I hit Texoma this year? Typically run 4 to 5 foot. I would say, hell yeah. A lot of times I'm in less than 4 feet up there. And I'm right on the bottom. I'm literally right on the bottom. My laders generally in the spring are damn near like a foot long. I'll have some that I don't even have a float on or rattle. It's just a straight Carolina rig, basically, with one of those little dumbbell rattles. It doesn't really do much, but I just put it on there for a little bit of buoyancy to get my stuff up just a little bit. And I have found that when they're up in the mud, shallow, you want to be pretty close to the bottom. And, if you're in 2 feet, you can't really run a 5 foot leader. All your stuff's going to be on the surface. So, but when I'm dragging up there, Bill, I generally start in about 3 feet and drag out to 10. So, to me, that's the sweet spot up there for fish over 50. It's 2 to 10 feet. Now you move out a little further, you can catch more fish, but your opportunity of catching a giant goes dramatically down when you move out. So
you think big fish are bigger? Let's just say the granddaddies. You think they're easier to scare than smaller fish?
Oh man, for sure. So I've learned a long time ago that big motor. If you're farting around with that big motor up in that shallow water, they are gone, buddy. They are gone. And guys like, well, how far do they go? I'm like, far enough where I don't ever see them again.
Yeah.
On my side image, I know that. I mean, they leave. Now, like you said, I think like 30s, maybe 40s and under are a little different. They may just spook out to the side, but I've noticed the big ones, they leave the area. Now, how far do they go? I said when I was up there, when you fished right after me and I went and fished I fished with Jesse Campbell. We nailed like 65.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, man, that we marked some that were over 100.
Yeah.
And it was loaded with big fish up there, but the front had hit and it had most of them shut down. Well, we fished it right when that front was hitting. We did get Jesse his PB with the 65, but I just was like, man, that they are up there and they are some freaking monsters. Yeah. I was like, but when I went up there, I went over 100 with the big motor, and when I turned around to go back because I wanted to fish him, he was gone. And I went far enough to think, how, where did he go? Where did, well, he left at least a couple 100 feet on each side. He went away from that. So
wow.
I think the bigger they are, the easier they spook.
Yeah.
Especially up shallow. Fit 20 feet or less, it seems like the biggest fish spook. And if I'm going to, like up there, if I'm going to drag, I typically, as soon as I mark good fish, I know they're there.
Yeah.
Couple of them is all I need to see. Yeah. Then I move way out.
Yeah.
Way out. And I get way out. And then I put my trolling motor down and then I motor into my area.
Yeah.
At least 100 yards or so. And I motor in and then drag quietly. And I've found that when you do that, you can catch your big fish production in shallow water will go way up. Way up. Spook him to Eagle Mountain. My guide buddy's like, man, can you bring some of those fish and release them in Louisville? Oh, man.
I bet Louisville, it's got some toad. That's a big body of water and it's deep. Louisville's got some toad.
I mean, we've caught the lake record multiple. I mean, we've broke the lake record.
Yeah.
It's just, you would think there'd be bigger fish. Michael Littlejohn said biggest fish he ever hooked into was on Louisville. It's on that mud flat where I was marked all those fish Saturday. And he's like, man, I hooked into something giant that I couldn't do anything with. It had to be 90, 100 pounds. Now, I've seen one fish in all my years of scanning that looked like something completely different. And it was all by itself. It was in February. It was after a big polar front. And I was out scanning the channel, and I had moved off of the channel, and I was like, damn, look at that Volkswagen, And I went back around and threw down and I had to drag it, even it was just one fish, no bait, nothing around it. And I was like, I'm just going to see. And, obviously I didn't get it, but there's got to be some giants in there,
Isn't the flathead record on there 80 pounds or something?
99.
Yeah. So
and actually there was a 101 caught. Yeah. 101 was caught just on the other side of the dam in the river. So
that's a toad.
Yeah, they got big. And, I see 50s and 60s come out of there occasionally. Somebody will just luckily catch one, usually in the spring. I don't shut my graph down. Vess?
Nope.
I haven't noticed any issue with the graph. I think that they know that the boat's there, and they definitely know that big motor's there. The big motor spooks them big time.
Even anchored shallow, I can see what's going on around me. I can tell you what's moving around me on my graph. And
oh, yeah. I can see them move to this one side of the boat to the next. Yeah. I'm like, all right, well, when I used to live stream, I'm like, well, I'm sitting here just hanging out fishing, and I'm like, all right, well, it's been like 20 minutes. I hadn't got a bite. Something's up.
Yeah.
So because my boat's got rods all around it. I flood an area where I see it on the graph. So I'm like, well, I can see there's no fish over here, but I look over here on the graph, everything's moved over to this side. So I flood that area and immediately start hammering them again. So that graph, that side image, really good for shallow water anchor fishing. Yeah, don't worry about shutting your graph down, Bill. I haven't noticed that doing anything. Jeff says he caught 2 flatheads in the 50s dragging on Louisville. It's crazy. So they're up there around that creek. Jeff's caught them in the pre-spawn time, or maybe that was fall.
Awesome.
Hell, I can't remember. It's generally 2 times you catch them dragging. It's going to be pre-spawn, and then there's a time like fall, usually late November, December. You can start.
Sometimes when they're fattening up.
Sometimes late October. They go on a feeding spree, and they move out, just kind of out onto the flats and feed. Fall dragging, he said. There you go. Yep. Most of the ones I've caught dragging been in October, November.
I have not yet to catch a flathead dragging.
We typically get a couple every year, I don't know that I got one this year. Last year we got 3 or 4, which was more than normal.
Yeah.
Catfish Cowboy says, howdy, y'all. And I'm hearing thunder and rain coming down now.
Oh, I can hear it on my roof. Yeah, it's coming down real good. It's a shame I live 30 minutes from PK, but me and that lake don't get along. That is a hard body to catfish.
A lot of those fish died with the
that's what everybody's saying, but
they have pretty bad algae blooms there, that golden algae that kills everything. And certain time of year, if they're up in the creeks and that golden algae hit, it kills everything up in that river.
Yeah.
And I think since they lowered that lake because of the nuclear power plant, hot water rights, they shut down the power generation, which used to keep the water up higher. I think that hurt that lake considerably. I used to go there to fish for striper below the dam.
Yeah.
We'd use giant river shad, big old gizzard shad, like 17 inchers, throw them up in there and catch giant striper, like 30, 35 pounders. Yeah. At that time, the world record freshwater striper had come out of PK. It's like 54 pounds, something insane. It had a lot of good we'd catch big catfish doing that too. They hammer those giant shad on top of the water. So. Joe Baker says it's a downport Valley View. So you're north of me, Joe. Favorite time of year for fishing right now? It's generally my best time of year for fishing.
All year. My most comfortable time, spring for me.
Spring, yeah. Yeah, I like
early spring coming right out of like what we're finna do this week.
I like March for my giant fish. I like March.
Yeah.
For like this time of year, we're catching pretty much every trip. We'll get a 50, some 40s. So I would say this is my most productive time of year for big fish. When the water's in the 40s, it's just ridiculous for big fish. They're more. For me, they're more predictable when the water's in the 40s. Yeah. I think big fish are when I say big fish over 50 are more predictable for me when the water's really cold. I can find them on structure a lot easier. I think they spread out and they move more when it's warmer water, but when it's cold, they just lay there and wait a lot more. For me, they're easier to target that way. I used to fish Tawakoni heavily up until probably about 5 years ago. I pretty much quit. Now, I think the last time I fished Tawakoni was probably 3 or 4 years ago. I fished a tournament there. I think it seemed like we won first or second, and it was a bad day. A big polar front was hitting, but Tawakoni took a real beating on their big fish. Vess fished Tawakoni a lot, so he knows. It used to be insanely good. It was one of the best fisheries in the country. It had probably the highest population of 40-pound plus fish of any fishery in the country. And when I say that, there would schools of 40-pounders.
Yeah.
Schools of them where you would see giant herds of 40-pound fish.
Yeah.
It was crazy, man. But, I think tournaments, social media, meat haulers, the combination of all three of those, it cleaned it out. It didn't take 5 years, and they just completely destroyed that fishery. Texas Parks and Wildlife tried to step in and make all these regulations, but it was too late. It wasn't enough.
Yeah, too little, too late. Yeah.
It wasn't enough, and I don't know that it'll ever return. I don't know that when you destroy a big fish fishery like that in that short of time, I don't know that it will ever recover. I don't know. What do you think, Vess? Will that lake ever be a shadow of what it was?
I think it will. With the new laws in place, it's going to take some time, though. We're not looking at 3 to 5 years. We're talking probably 20 years.
So what a lot was learned with Tawakoni was that these fish live a lot longer than what they said before.
Yeah.
Because the fish in Tawakoni were put in '89.
Yeah.
And 5 years ago they were right around 80 pounds. At those fish put in at 89, there was a ton of 70 pounders.
Yeah.
70 to 80 pounders in that lake that were put in '89. So they'd live a lot longer than what they thought. They thought they lived about 15 years. It turns out they live a hell of a lot longer.
Longer than that, yeah.
Even in Texas, which is very stressful for fish because of our summers.
And that says about how healthy the fishery is, though, to sustain that many big fish.
Yeah, a lot of guys said, there was that, when you have that many big fish, they eat all the bait fish, and that's why they died. I'm like, no,
that's not.
I was like, you go around to any of our lakes, they could hold a lot more fish than what they hold. There's no shortage of bait in any lake I fish.
Yeah. Yeah, they harvested the ear bones out of that 180 pounder. The guy, 82 pounder, I believe the guy broke the lake record.
It's 89.
Yeah, and they harvested those ear bones, and that's how they age catfish and tell how old they are. And he was an original stocking. That fish was an original 89 stocking.
Yeah, every time I'd go there, I would stay at the Anchor Inn Marina, and I would see guys in there cleaning giants every time. I'm like, this fishery's, it's not going to be able to sustain people keeping these big fish. So. Southern Stream says Ray Roberts has been kicking his butt over the last 6 months. Can't seem to figure it out.
That's a hell of a fishery, but that's a temperamental one. That's a rough fishery.
I haven't fished it that much, but my buddies were like, man, there ain't no big fish in here. I said,
oh, yeah.
I said, there's big fish in there. You just got to target them differently. So I went up there with my buddy, and he's like, please just come fish it. And I was like, I'll come fish it, and there's a lot of structure in that lake. So you're going to lose a lot of rigs getting it figured out. But where I fished, we ended up getting within 2 pounds of the lake record. And we smoked them, dude. We had 240s with a 53 or a 54. And my buddy's like, how'd you come up here? This ain't even your lake. I said, wait, I think you're not. It takes a little different mentality to go after really big fish. And they do like to be on some type of structure. Whereas a lot of guys want to get out on the flat where they're catching a lot of 20 to 40 pound fish. Those are fun, awesome to catch, but the really big ones tend to be, me and Vess were talking about it before the show. They tend to choose the highest real estate. So it might be a bend in the channel. It could be the end of a point. It could be, all types of, it could be a single stump that's on some type of ledge, something that's a little bit different. They typically like to pick something like where I've been fishing, there's a levee, and they like the edge of that levee, or if there's a bend in it. Anything that's a little bit different, they pick that. And over time, I've just been able to see where I'm catching all these big fish. And you start to see, all right, there's actually something to this. I'm catching all these 20s and 40s out here on this flat, but as soon as I hit that little piece of structure, that's where I got my big one. Pay attention when you do get one to where you got it. Now, we do catch some big ones just out on the flats occasionally, but it's to do it consistently, I got to actually target them in a specific way. And it's usually some type of piece of structure that's where I'm pulling them off of.
Chris is asking, what's the temps on Levon? He hasn't been in 3 weeks.
Well, Saturday it was 46. I imagine it's going to be damn near 55, 56 this week. We got right now it's raining 55 degrees today. Well, that water's coming into the lake is 55 degrees.
Yeah.
So up in shallow, it's going to be a lot warmer. Those fish are going to move out of that 46-degree water. Well, it's going to warm up. That's warmed up. I don't even know. I mean, 3 or 4 degrees, I would guess. But then that water coming in is going to be warmer. They will move up into that warmer water. And like Vess said, they don't all follow the same program. So some of them will be up there. Some of them will be out around. There's going to be a biomass generally in mid-depth all the way up until springtime when the water really warms up and they move up. Everything moves up shallow. But just because one guy goes shallow doesn't mean you have to. I can tell you right now, I've smoked them out in mid-depth when my buddies are out catching them up in 3 feet. There's no one way. It's not all one program. That's for damn sure.
Catfish Cowboy said in the 40s, the James River is in the 35s with ice, but it's on a warm spike. So do you have any information on warm spike, on what to do after a cold spike?
Well,
yeah, I'm guessing he's asking layman's terms.
What do you do on the warm up?
Yeah, what do you do for a warm up?
The surface typically warms up faster. And here's the thing: if you've got ice that's melting coming into the fishery, that's typically not great for the shallow. That's not great for the influx. You want a warm influx. Yeah. So what Vess is talking about right now is we got warm rain. That's warm water coming in. An ice melt is the opposite, where it's cold water coming into the creek. You might need to move away from that. You're basically looking for warmer water temperature, a couple degrees, 2, 3. A certain section of the lake, you move up into a protected area where there's sunshine blowing on it, out of current. Because cold current might be bringing cold water up into there, but you get out of the current, you get out of the wind, you got sunshine shining on it. That's going to warm up a lot faster. It just takes 1 or 2 days, and it's go time up in those types of areas.
Yes, sir.
And
you can find shallow water on a river. You can find a warm water creek. Something coming off of a highway or something coming out of a rocky part of the. That area is going to hold heat in that water, or a mud flat with sunshine is going.
Yeah, so those darker areas,
yeah,
they warm up quicker too because of the solar. Yeah.
It's the same concept on a river. River's just moving water versus a lake. But yeah, same concept applies. A warm mud flat, sunlight, rocky, anything protruding from the water and shallow. It's a go all day.
Chris Garcia, is there a big water run in there like Texoma? Well, most of our Texas lakes are going to have influx of water and rain situations. I don't know that any of them's a closed system. Most of them have major creeks feed it. That's how they fill up. Otherwise, they'd be sucked dry. But if you got a creek or a river, there's seasonal flow, and that's. Like now, you're going to you go check the creeks. They're all flowing right now.
Yeah.
And they're flowing into these impoundments. You got to go move up into those areas where that muddy water's coming in. It's more than just muddy. It's oxygenated. It's bringing in all kinds of stuff like rats that have drowned. You've got bugs that are being washed in, earthworms, and all those little things bring in bait fish, game fish move in. It's just all things.
And man, Google Earth is a fisherman's friend. So I live in Peaster, Texas. There's a lake that's 45 minutes away from me, but the creek a half a mile from my house winds down and connects to that lake. And so knowing that after last summer, I eased up to where I thought that part where it was coming in has turned out to be one of my best bait holes ever. And it's because I'm 40 minutes away from that lake where I live, probably 30 miles. And 2 creeks of the feeder arm creeks, a half a mile from my house, feed that lake. And that's just looking on Google Earth. You can see also where it cuts through farmland and everything. I'm telling you, Google Earth and a fish finder, you can't go wrong. You just can't go wrong.
I use it a lot. I use it a lot. And Navionics use that a lot too. What is your take on Slickum Slough coming into Texoma right now? Well, Joe, it's funny that you say that because me and Vess were just saying, ideally we'd be fishing Texoma this weekend, and we'd be up there around Slickum Slough. We'd be either on Slickum Slough side or we'd be up around the mouth of the Red. So I would be on either side of that. Those are the 2 areas I always look for when it's in when we've had inflow and a warm up. That's where I'm going, man. And generally they're going to be on one side or the other. What makes them pick one side or the other? I have no idea. I don't go up into Slickum Slough a lot. I typically fish out in, around the old mouth, or I'm around the new mouth of the Red. And that's where I like to fish. It's just, I get up in there and scan for giants. Yeah. And wherever I'm seeing fish over 50, that's where I fish up there.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
I'm looking for, when I'm fishing up in that area, I'm looking for a freaking monster.
Yes.
And there's usually quite a few of them up in there, starting about, like me and Vess were saying before the show, right about now, boy, it starts looking real good up in there. And some of the biggest fish you'll see in Texas are going to be in that area.
Part of the river,
Some of the biggest fish I've ever seen on Side Image have all been up in that area. You got to be lucky and get them. Those really big ones, they don't eat all day long. If you got to be there in the 30 minutes or the hour of the day that they're feeding, you got to have the right bait at the right time. Got to be lucky to get one over 100. I'm going to get one, though.
Right.
I'm getting one. Maybe this is my year. We've been pulling 80s out of there every year the last 4 years, so maybe this will be our year.
Jeff Martin, let's go, Vess, let's go fishing, man.
Chris, I'd fish Levant. I would fish Texoma this weekend.
If I was going this weekend.
I was going to pick a lake. I'm fishing Texoma this weekend. Something in me tells me there's giants up there at the inlet.
The wind's going to be perfect. I mean,
big warm up.
Yeah.
A lot of rain hitting that lake.
No big wind. I mean, it's real tempting. I'm actually thinking of just having my clients meet me up there blind and just go for it. I really am.
Yeah, I would say that's probably a good bet. I'm generally pretty good at picking the best lake. Now, I'm not perfect at it, but y'all notice I move around a lot.
Me too.
Typically go to where I think my best chance of catching fish over 50 is going to be. And if I were picking a lake this weekend, I would say Texoma would be my pick. meet me at Juniper. I can't fish this weekend, Chris, or I'd be happy to meet you up there, man. I'd bring the bait. Hell.
Back up. Let's say 4-digit fishing. For us bank fishermen, Google Earth and Navionics are our best friends. Hell yeah.
Hey, that's boat fishermen
Man,
too.
that's got to be awesome. Because I was a bank river fisherman forever, and all I knew is holes, eddies, dikes, I mean, the common stuff, but to find some hidden gems and stuff like you can now oh man, that would have really changed the banking game.
Brad Sparks says best. You ever fish Bridgeport Lake?
I have not ever fished it, but I am very inclined to fish.
I've driven over that lake so many times, and I'm like, damn, there's got to be big fish. And my buddy's like, there's not very many big fish. I've had another buddy that went up there and said, we did pretty good on blues, and we actually smoked the flatheads on that rocky island.
Yeah.
They're like, man, a certain time of year, he's like, man, we smoked those flatheads on that rocky. Certain times that lake gets real low, you can see there's a rocky island. If you're heading west on the right side, there's a rocky island. He's like, man, we've smoked flatheads on that rocky island. I wish I was paying attention more, but I've heard that lake, it doesn't have any giants, but I'm sure it's got some good fish in it. One thing is
it's got quite a few fish in it from what I understand, but like you said, I ain't heard anything big.
One thing is to catch giant, obviously anybody can catch one, but to do it consistently, it takes a little different mindset. So, I mean, I'm with you. I'd like to go see what's up there, at least go look around and see if they're there. Because I've had buddies that told me there ain't any big ones here, there ain't any big ones there. And then I'll go and I'm like, well, we got a 50 out of there.
Right.
I mean, I guess we just real lucky. 4-digit says, I hope you get the hunter. Just hope it's on the Texas side. He's got the Oklahoma record. Well, Digit, I freaking fish that Oklahoma side a lot. It's really a coin flip for me on which side I'm going to fish. I don't know why they pick which side they want to be on, but it's one weekend I'll go up there and they'll be on the Oklahoma side on the new inlet, and then the next weekend they'll be all be up by Slickum Slough. So I don't know what makes them do what, but I wouldn't even know which side I was on if I were out kind of in the middle. So how do you tell which? I guess if it was Oklahoma record, I'd say, well, I was on the Oklahoma side.
Yeah.
Jimmy, yes, Red River. Garcia says, even if he does catch it, we'll say it's Oklahoma. Crying face emoji.
The mouth of the red. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're up there.
Yeah.
Every year I'm up there, I see them. I'm just haven't got one yet. I think the biggest, we got an 85 out of there last year and an 83. And both on the same day. Like, that's lucky. I had a vet trip up there with husband and wife. They both got 80s. I'm like, y'all, they're like, their PB was like 6 pounds. I'm like, man, y'all so lucky.
They jumped to the front of the line on the PBs.
Like, man, y'all spoiled. This is the best fishing trip y'all ever have. I guarantee you'll never gonna catch 280s in a day. I've been doing this my whole life. I've never got 280s in a day. Right. Usually when you catch really big ones, you might not catch another fish the whole freaking day. It's that kind of day. And that's what that was. We got those 280s and I think maybe a 20. We got 3 fish that day.
That's a hell of a day though.
My buddy's like, they're down here in this 30-foot water. I'm like, what do you get? And he's like, we got some 20s and 30s. I'm like, well, I'm marking some freaking supersized fish up here. I'm just going to roll with it and see if I can get one of them. We ended up got 2 of them that day. Brad, I use a 10-aught hook from Carolina Lake Weights. It's my son's signature hook. It's a thin wire. When I'm dragging, I like a thin wire hook. I think a thin hook gives your bait a lot more natural appeal and natural presentation. That's why I like it. I like a 10-aught with a super wide gap, an extreme offset. That's why I like that hook. It's called the Action Jackson 10-0 hook. We picked that hook because it's good for dragging. Now, anchoring, I don't know that it's nearly as important on what hook you got. Any hook with a decent offset, and a wide gap will work. But I think when you're dragging, you're going to want a thinner wire will give you a more natural presentation. So instead of dragging your bait down like this, which isn't very natural, it'll start floating your bait more naturally. And I've caught way more fish with a thinner wire, way more big fish dragging with a thin wire than I have with a heavy gauge. I feel like heavy gauge wires built more for river, current, heavy structure type stuff. I like a thin wire. Nathan Lort says, do you think that the winter deep water is over and spring shallow is here early?
No, not yet.
I think that you're going to have two patterns.
You're going to have a mix.
Here's something that I believe is one of the most overlooked things. It's the length of day.
Yeah.
There's something in a fish that knows the length of the day. And regardless of spring, cold, whatever, they know they don't want to just fully commit to the shallow. They may run up in there and feed and then kind of move back out. But I think that the length of the day makes a big difference. And as the day gets longer, they know now it's actually an internal clock in them that's ticking instead of an environmental indicator like warmth, temperature, which will make them run up in there, but they know they better not commit fully. They'll kind of sit back where they can move from shallow water to deep water. So from now until about April, they'll be up shallow one day and back out deep the next. And what makes them do that? Big warm-up day or a rainy day, they'll be up shallow for 3 days, and then they'll drop back out. So you got to get on that graph, boys. You got to put in that time on the freaking screen. Put in that screen time like these kids do on their iPad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get on that graph and see what they're doing that day. Yeah, Chris, I'm up there by the oil derricks a lot. It's time of year, starting about now through April. Chris says, I got $20. You get me hooked on that special bait.
You know, about $130 short of a good net.
Man, it's expensive getting that good bait. Well, Chris, when you put it at Juniper, there's that ledge. First of all, look right there at the dock.
Yeah.
But that ledge, 50 yards off the shore, right there where it drops off into that deep water, there's damn near always good bait right there.
Yeah.
So never just float her out. Never just take off when you're at that dock. Always, here's the one thing that's bad about getting bait at the dock. It's rocky.
Yeah.
It can be an expensive bait haul. That net.
Yeah.
Because there's boulders there, but there's usually bait from anywhere from that dock all the way to the edge of that ledge. So 8 foot. Well, you know, I found that 8 foot, man, I ripped those damn things from damn near the first throw. I don't know what it is about an 8 foot net. Now you're not supposed to use them in Texas. Not supposed to use them in Texas, but and an 8 foot taped net, boy, you're gonna feel it after 3 throws. Oh, you taped it. Okay, you taped it yourself. Let me get caught up here, Russ.
Yeah, I'm flipping back and forth.
Let me run through here. I don't see Cole Thompson. Somebody said LOL Cole Thompson. I'm not seeing any. I'm not seeing Cole in here. He'll be fishing twisted cats. Good luck to you, buddy. Hope you hammer him, bro. Paul Dylan Anderson, welcome. Welcome, buddy. Welcome in.
Eagle Eyes Tienda, like you always say, Chris, it's good to have friends on lakes you catch bait at.
One, there is no doubt about that. It pays to be friendly and it pays to be giving.
Yes,
and so when you want something, it sure helps if you've given them something previously. I can tell you that. So you don't feel so bad about asking for a favor going on a travel lake for bait when you've done something for somebody. It's a two-way street. So it's not just, hey, can you get me some bait? Hey, Vess, I'm coming to your lake. Can I get some,
funny story by that. It's kind of like I was telling you how things intertwine with people. I was giving Jesse bait when I seen him pulling down there at Worth. I'd be coming off the lake. He'd be coming on the lake. He was an afternoon guy. I was an early morning guy. I didn't even know him, didn't ask, didn't care. I'd seen he was a fellow catfisherman. He had his kid with him. You know, that's two things I respect. The guy was coming out to go fishing, and he had his kid with him. Hey, brother, you need some bait? I'm done for today. You know, I throw in bait. I never even asked his name for 2, 3, 4 times, you know, after we done this deal. And then all of a sudden, I see him on here, and I'm like, oh, same guy.
I love him. He's like a little brother to me.
Yeah.
Super good dude, super friendly, positive vibes.
Yep.
Man, good dude. You would never think he's in his 20s.
Yes. Yeah.
I thought he was old. We're the same age. He's like us.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me to think when he's like, yeah, I'm 29. I'm like, damn, I'm old.
Yeah. That's even early mornings when I go to lake and I'm throwing. I know I go out here and get a cloud of them real quick. I'll see them throwing off. Man, here's some bait, man. You know, guys are out doing something now. Bait is their only problem in the world. I'm here to help. I'm here for.
Yeah, I always give bait away, and I got extra. I pretty much know what I'm going to use throughout the day. I'd like to have a few extras, but whatever I got that's over that, and my buddies on the lake, and they're like, man, I'm out here struggling to get this good bait. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm going to bring you some. I'll be over there in a minute.
Yep, exactly.
You'd be surprised at how many of those guys have ended up giving me bait in a pinch.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it helps to pay to be a giving person, and be friendly. Those are probably the two biggest things that'll help you in this catfishing.
Yes, sir.
Chris Garcia says, I got the river now. Catch a net full of monster gizzards below the dam. Yeah, when I flathead fished, big gizzard shad were easy up against the dam wall.
Oh, man.
They won't even let you throw up. No nets allowed up in there my home lake anymore. I guess they would clean a whole bucket out and then they would die and then they just dump the bucket. It's like,
tournament on Ray Hubbard must be challenging for bait. I sold 6 nets a day alone. That's Joe Baker.
Joe Baker said,
yeah. And that Hubbard I've always caught my bait before I went to that lake.
He sold 6 take nets today.
Yeah.
Well, bait's deep, so I think a lot of guys don't even have tape nets until they get here, and they're like, "Damn, the bait's in 48 feet or 44 feet or 40 feet. I can't even get." I mean, I'm throwing my net, and I'm on 15 feet of fish, and it comes up with nothing in it.
Yep.
Well, you got to have a tape net because at 42 feet, that thing's closed by the time it gets to them.
Yep.
So. Yep, I think a lot of guys don't really, but also getting big bait. It's difficult this time of year for a lot of guys. So I think a lot of guys are actually buying it for this tournament. I heard that a lot of the bait dealers don't have their license yet, so I don't know how they're buying it, but. Wouldn't be the first time somebody broke some rules.
And here's the thing. Another reason I brought up Google Maps. I found a spot I think I can walk up to versus me. Say I got a trip Saturday. Well, I can get off work Friday, got a bucket and net in my work truck. I can go get bait on the way home.
Oh, man.
That's literally off the side of the road. So that's kind of why I use Google to see what creeks are, because a lot of people.
It's like a little, like a rock check or something?
Yeah. So a lot of people know, like a lot of these tributaries that you see and you drive over, there's bait right there.
A lot of them that have that flood control, type rock check that dumps off.
Just creeks, just a regular creek.
That's how I used to go get my big bait.
Yeah.
I would go up in the creek in the first or second bend where the deep hole is. It's loaded this time.
Loaded with bait because they get
big bait.
Yep.
That's where I would always go to get it. But you also tear up a lot of crap doing that, and it takes a long time to do it, to get up in there. Probably about 15 years ago, I started figuring out how to pull big ones off deep structure.
Yeah.
And it was, after that, I'm like, I'm never going up in the creek again. But if I could go walk up in there, that might be a little different.
Yeah.
Different deal than having to put the boat in, drive all
over, go scope it, put the boat back on, go home, get ready for the next day. Yeah.
I got guide buddies that get it for me all winter.
Yeah,
$40. I could go get it very easily. It's easy to get for me right now. I could go get it. It's easy. But I got to go put the boat in.
Yeah.
I got to go the day before I want to fish. And I'm out there. It ends up taking multiple hours. And then I'm spending, gas to drive the truck there, gas to get the boat out. I'm like, all right, well, what's it worth to me? I'm like, $40. So I just buy it for my guide buddies now. Go out the day before and fish. It's the best damn hookup I've got ever. Nathan Lork says he's going to have to buy it this weekend himself. Got a guy who caught some, not as big as I hoped, but they're not frozen. Chris says, I got 40. Where do I Venmo? I got a buddy yesterday. He's like, man, I'll pay you $100. I'm like, oh, well, it's not me. And I'd hate to ask my buddy to go get bait for somebody else. I hope y'all understand. It's pain in the ass. So I get it. I do pay them, but it's also they're actually doing me a huge favor to do it. Because
and that's another thing. Look at these real small impoundments. They might not have big catfish or nothing in them, but they have a huge bait population in them. Huge. Yeah. I got one I know I go to. It's probably 20 minutes from my house, and I can literally. It takes me longer to drive there, put the boat on, and get the boat on the trailer. It does my bait 2 or 3 throws. I'm there. I'm spending that much gas money and that much time, and now a ramp cost to catch bait. I'm literally on and off the lake probably 20 minutes, 30 minutes at the most.
Chris Garcia says, I'm going to Lavon this weekend. Let me give you a piece of advice, Chris.
Yeah.
Stay close to home. Go to Texoma. Fish
Yeah.
the inlet.
Yeah.
Trust me, bro. You'll do better up there than you will at Lavon. Now, I could be wrong.
Now, if you're not eater fishing or you trying to put something on the table.
He wants to catch a freaking dreamfish, man.
Oh, yeah. Texoma.
I go to Texoma. I would fish if you're wanting to catch numbers of big fish. I'd fish that 30-foot area south of the southeast of the inlet. And if you want to catch a monster, I'd be up in that 3 to 10 foot, 12-foot range, somewhere up in there. Now, I could be wrong because there's no guarantees in trophy catfishing, but
it's been a weird time this last couple of years. It's been a weird time.
Trent says I enjoy my bait catching time. And Trent used to give me shit because I would say, my wife, there's nothing that gets my wife more upset than telling her that I need to go fishing before I go fishing.
Fishing. The joys of this
I'm like, I'm looking up the boat. Got to go fishing before I go fishing.
Yep.
I got to get bait.
Yep.
I tell my buddy Jeff, I wouldn't even freaking go. I'm not going unless I got the right bait.
Yeah.
At this point, I ain't travel fishing unless I got that right bait, because there's too many times I've gotten out there and not been able to get it. I'm like, damn, I got to use this dinky little bait out here with these monsters, and I already know what's going to happen. I'm going to catch small fish off of it.
I've had some damn good days, though, on the skimpy bait runs where nothing worked out and you just got fish for bait. I've actually caught damn good fish on those days. I really have. So I really can't complain about that.
All right.
More not so.
It doesn't work out for me. I end up getting dinks or teeners, and I'm like, I already know what I'd be doing if I had my good bait. Light these fish up.
And Chris Garcia, I'm going to tell you this, brother. You find any water 15 foot on Lavon, there's bait.
Yeah.
Any cove, any area that's holding 15 foot of water, you're going to find bait on Lavon. That Lavon is a very bait healthy lake. That's one of the few lakes that I'll travel away from home and don't pre-catch bait.
So Chris, if you're gonna fish Lavon, now I fished it Sunday? Yeah, I fished it Sunday. I fished the deep water. I fished around the South Levee. We got a 60, we got 250s, we got a 40 and 430s. We smoked them. I don't expect the fish to be there, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to skip that area where I went and caught all those giant fish. Typically what I do, I go straight to where I caught them before and work my way north. Now, I would go back to that area and I would look, and then from there, I would go straight to the North Levee and start checking right there at the tip of that North Levee, because for whatever reason, that's a holding area when they want to go from deep water up to the shallow timber, because it's just right there within a mile each direction.
Covered the whole way. Yeah.
And so that would be an area that I would scan real good, would be first South Levee, then I would move to North Levee. If they aren't there, they're going to be shallow in the timber. I mean, there's nowhere else. That's where they go.
Yep.
That's just
it's a highway. That's a highway on that lake. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the way I would fish it. Trent said, check my messenger. He sent me a video. I bet he's got that good bait already.
We both got our asses kicked Saturday. He went out Sunday and stoned them. He went out and tore them up Sunday. That just less than 24 hours, different conditions, and boom, he went out and just nailed them. Eagle Eyes Tienda. My wife didn't like when I said I got to set up a new fish finder.
Throw down again.
But I won't be fishing, but I need to go fishing. That sounds like my voice on there.
That's Trent weighing the freaking tank.
Oh yeah.
So Trent, you beat me, but I think they're going to disqualify me, bro. Because I got two different guys saying on there, "It's a shame you didn't we didn't get to see the fish swimming off." So I caught a 29.4 for the money fish. It's supposed to be 29 pounds. Trent beat me. He's got a 29.1. But I didn't video it swimming off. I videoed me saying, "All right, we're CPR for the future." And I got the camera pointed towards the side of the boat and I throw it overboard because, I mean, in that CPR, I mean, catch, photographs, release.
Yeah.
Two guys are like, "Man, it's a shame I didn't see it swimming off." I'm like, "Man, you need to go fishing." Oh, if they decide to disqualify me for that, it wouldn't be the first time.
I'll be back.
Hey, Trent, there's nobody who's been disqualified more than me. I guarantee you there is not. I've been DQ'd on that contest at least 15, possibly 20 times.
Really?
Yes. It's always for something silly. But whatever. I mean, they do have rules, and I don't, I mean, I've been DQ'd for dumb shit that I did. I mean, I didn't do it right.
Now, see, the only problem I see a complication is getting the weight on the fish without showing. If you're by yourself, I fish solo.
Well, what you got? Because I'm a lot of times by myself when I fish or with my son, and now you'll see me sometimes he's videoing. I'm like, step back, dude, like because he's like. I'm like, dude, you got to show the whole fish. But then if you're back here, you can't see
the
scale. Weight. So you got to go zoom into the weight. But but here's the thing: when I released it, my son was asleep because he'd caught a 60, a 50, a 40. He was knocked out.
Yeah.
And so when I caught the 29.4, I had to do it all with the deal in the tripod. Well, how do you release a fish and show it swimming off and sitting up in a tripod and you're by yourself and you?
Yeah. It's a little difficult. Yeah. Maybe they're encouraging team fishing.
Yeah. What's crazy is my son got DQ'd on a fish that broke a lake record, and it was good enough for the record, but it wasn't good enough for the competition. So.
Oh wow.
I don't know, man.
Everybody wants to participate.
Rules are rules. It's all good. I don't get upset about it. I just think to myself, man,
I'll be back.
I'm gonna go freaking win this damn thing next week.
Yeah, I'll be back.
I mean, we got a first place. We got 2 third places, and I was thinking we would be in first place this week, but then they're like, "Oh no, that." It sucks that you didn't do it right, and looks like Trent did the same crap. So
here you go. Southern streams. This may sound dumb, but what is a levee?
So a levee is where, a lot of our lakes are built on an old river or on a river, right? So before the lake was impounded, it was a river, and there was a township around it, usually farmland. Well, they built a levee, which is like a earth mound that they build all along the river to keep it from, when it floods, to keep it from flooding into where the people live, the farmland. And so a lot of these old lakes will have a levee running all the way along the length of the river channel. And man, it's freaking monster fest on certain parts of the levee, the bends in the levee, the tip of the levee. Usually those are going to be key areas to catch the biggest fish in the lake. And I use those levees a lot on any of these lakes that got levees. I typically fish pretty close to them in the winter. And you'll hear me say when the wind dies, go to the structure, that's one of the pieces of structure I'll hit. So if it's right after a front, I'll be in the river channel. If it's a couple days after the front, I might be out either on the flat, or if the wind dies, I'll be on the levee. And big fish city when you hit the right sections of that levee.
And the best thing about a levee for drifters is they're usually probably that north levee on there is probably what, mile and a half long.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you
can
got
run
all of that structure to drift. You got all of that. That's all structure that you're drifting.
Yeah, so it's basically a reverse river channel. Rather than running a channel, now you're running the levee next to it. And what happens is fish will lay on one side of the levee or the other. You can generally see which side they're on with your side image. And you can also see how they're relating to the structure. Some days they're sitting up on top of it. Some days they're laying on the bottom of it. Some days they're off to the side of it. That's how you're going to determine how you're going to target those fish. And then when there's something different with the levee, like let's say the levee's running this way and then all of a sudden it curves that way. Well, right there where that thing bends on one side or the other typically is where the biggest, baddest fish is going to be on that section. And let's say right there where the levee starts, the tip of that thing, it's like fishing a point. Right there at the bottom of that point, the biggest, baddest fish in that whole area is going to pick the best real estate. Well, that's the best real estate coming up because fish that are coming off of that levee or coming onto that levee, they have to change. Something changes where they start having to swim up. They're not really paying attention to that fish that's sitting right there. So as they swim up and start going over that levee, boom, the fish barely has to do anything. He opens his mouth and inhales. Well, those bends, it's the same thing. They'll sit right there on that bend. And as these fish are coming down this bend and have to change, all of a sudden now there's a giant fish right there in front of them that when they change directions. And that's where I've found on pieces of structure, things that are different on a big, long piece of structure, things that are a little bit different. That's how you're going to catch the biggest fish for the day. It's almost, start fishing those types of areas. Your big fish catch ratio will freaking dramatically improve, guys, dramatically. So always fish something when you're looking at a piece of structure, look for what's different in that. If it's the channel, look for the bends. Look for something that bends up close to a point or up next to a hump. Those are where I've always caught the best fish in that section. And you get out on the flats next to it, there'll be fish. But the biggest ones will be in that high valued real estate just sitting there. So, yeah, Ryan, we are getting some good rain. I can hear it hitting the roof. So,
yep. Fish God 903. I want to buy a slime show hat.
You can get them at CarolinaLakeWeights.com. They got them. They got camo ones now. They got the original OG slime show. A lot of these guys are saying, man, I got this hat so freaking lucky. I'm like, yeah, that's good to hear. I don't even wear mine because I don't want to mess it up. I don't wear mine to the lake. I don't want to mess it up. I wear that Mad Cat's hat in case I get me a money.
Got that one on the dash too.
Yeah, you got to keep that one close because
yes,
they've been getting me paid the last 3 years. Southern Streams. Ray Roberts doesn't have a levee, but it's got a ton of structure. So when you're looking at a section of the lake where you're marking a lot of fish, in that certain section where you're marking a big amount of fish, start looking for something different in that section. So let's say you're out on a big mud flat. Well, what's different about that mud flat? Oh, there's a point that sticks out right over there and gets close to this mud flat I'm fishing with all these fish on it. You're going to find after you're catching all these mid-sized fish, to get the giant, he's actually going to be sitting on the bottom of that ledge over there, right there next to all this activity. Or maybe there's a weird bend in the channel. They'll be right there on that freaking bend. Or maybe it's a point sticking out with one tree on it. They'll be on that freaking tree. It's just over time, you'll start seeing it as you're catching these really, really big fish. They all seem to have something that they're relating to. It's not just out on the flat feeding. Now, we do catch them on the flat feeding, but typically to get the biggest one, it's after you move off of the main group and you hit that piece of structure. There's not going to be a ton of fish with it, but that's where the big one will be almost every time.
You can't go wrong with Ray Roberts fishing any of the structure. I took a guy out, a co-worker of mine, this is several years ago, foggy as all hell that morning. I mean, literally, you engage your motor, you didn't get on plane, and you kind of where you're listening for everybody else. Well, I knew the certain section where I wanted to go, and I took him, and he just lost his mind, and I was taking him up in these trees to fish. He just could not handle it. Oh, I mean, he's a fast talker, jittery guy at that. Oh, man, but we're going to, I mean, brother, this is battle catfishing right here. This is where we're going to find them. First two fish in the boat were 230s, you know. I mean, so he got kind of quiet, paying attention now. I mean, we're in.
You're up in.
Then I take him off to a point. I knew it was a flat mud point and probably 200 foot of clearing straight to the bank. We just eased up. We were literally probably 50 feet off the bank and in 3 foot of water, December, and wearing them out. 20s, 30s, caught a couple 40s there. I mean, it just blew him away. So now I talked to him last week. He got high centered in his pontoon up there on some of the sticks. And the island in the middle of Ray Roberts, fish all around that island. And I tell you,
it's got some good fish out in that 50-foot area right to the south of there.
Yep. If you go all the way around that island, there's 2 gravel pits on that island, right off of that island, if you got old enough map to look. And those are 2 damn good holes. I've seen 2 different tournaments I fished out there, and they both the winds came out of that gravel pit. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, that 50 and 240s we got up there caught off that west arm in the channel.
Yep.
My buddy's like, man, there's timber up there. I'm like, well, what I did is I scanned it first and found where the timber started and where it ended. There's a clearing. There's a section you can actually fish. It's pretty good strip. And I was like, and that's what I did. I just, I figured out the area I could fish. What are you doing?
The Texas tornado.
Is it raining? Get out of here. You're going to get hurt, boy. Action Jackson's in the house. Juan, 3 tornadoes hit the. What are you doing? You want this? It's not turned on. So.
Can you turn it on?
I'm bringing the Texas tornado to CatCon in 3 weeks. So.
Can you turn it on?
No, there's no cord, bro.
Rebecca James said, I love fishing structure. Then they say, there he is. Tornadoes in the house.
I'm fishing structure a lot. Big fish, I'm typically on structure. Structure is not cover. Cover is different from structure. So
Yes.
structure is river channels, edges, ledges, humps, levee.
Yeah.
Cover is timber. Get out of here. Go on. Gonna be a pest. Go on. Here, you can have this. Take that with you. All right, buddy. Go do some reading.
Ryan Smith, Ray Roberts is good. Lots of 20 to 40s.
Yeah.
Fish it a lot. It is a very good lake. Very good clean water lake too. Monster crappie. I've caught some. I caught a.
Yeah, that's a hell of a crappie lake. And big black bass.
I caught a 12 and a half pound bass reeling in a shad head the size of my palm.
Holy crap.
Reeling it in across the top water. And I mean, he smashed that thing and I got him to the boat.
Gerald Adams says, great info, guys. Have not been a big cat fisherman, but learned some things from one trip with Vess.
That's my customer.
Yeah. Ready for next trip. I got to get these dogs out of here. My son left these damn dogs in here. Come on, boys. They're wet and stinky from the rain. Come on. Let's go.
Where'd he go? There he is. Oh, that's really good info. I'm not sure. Yes. I've seen that on what Southern Streams, what in particular on Ray Roberts are you talking about? The island? You can't miss it. It's in the main part of the lake. The gravel pits, there's one on the so if you're looking north at the island, say you're looking at the island, you're in the middle of the lake, there's a big, huge creek arm that comes in. I'll tell you what, that's one of my go-tos on Ray Roberts is that creek arm north of the island. There's a lot of timber in there. You got to cruise through there. You can't get on plane and go there, but there's a point in there. I'll tell you this: you can probably go about a quarter mile, half mile up from the main lake. There's a ledge. It's 5 foot with submerged trees all around you, and then it drops off 19 foot right there in that creek channel. And Ray Roberts to me has some of the prettiest flatheads I've ever caught. Very pretty, very colorful, dinner size. I mean,
Nathan Lorick says, what lake do you fish, Vess? What boat ramp? What time do you get my white bait? Oh, man. I can tell you right now, Nathan, for guys that are trying to get bait for this tournament, you probably should have gone today because, man, all this rain's going to make getting the good stuff difficult. It's really there's nothing that really makes getting good bait more difficult than a big rain event. So tonight, it's going to rain. If you're trying to get it tomorrow, boy, you better
that's all they
real friendly with somebody.
Yeah. Everything be
Money
right.
talks. I've got a lot of buddies fishing it, so I don't know who's got bait. I know most of them got bait today. I don't know who's going to be friendly, but you ask one of my buddies, you tell them you're one of my buddies, you ask one of my buddies, they'll give you bait. I guarantee you.
Owen Cox. Vess, any lessons learned early on as a new guide? Any advice for a new guy starting out? Man, get used to people being late. I'm an on-time person. I'm one of those people. If I'm late for work, it was something pretty drastic.
Yeah,
I'm a timely person. I don't do late like that. So get used to people being late, and get used to taking a kicking every now and again. You will take a boot in the rear sometimes. You know, you might catch fish. We always go after that one fish, and you want to have that epic trip, but that and just getting your bait early and being friendly. You come on my boat, we gonna laugh. I mean, that's just my thing. I don't like no pressure. Like, you know, fishing's good and bad enough that being a guide, you know, and you come off with a good personality, good relations and talking, and know your crowd too. Know what you can and can't say either. I kind of let them break that ice and tip, which way the conversation's going to go. Now, if it's something I'm uncomfortable with, at the same strike, I'm quick to say, look, we don't do that here, But at the most time, I think fishermen by nature, I can't say them, I call them bass holes. But most cat fishermen I come across are real friendly dudes. We all got a story or two to tell. We got that guy at work. It just works. You'll feel the energy off of a lot of different people fishing too. But your biggest for me, just taking people fishing, not even outside of guiding. When the women and kids get a big fish they've never caught before, there's just something about it. It's magical. It makes that trip, all of the work I did up 4 a.m. catching bait the day before, to see that smile and that wow, that's just the gold in it. That's the money, none of that. That's gas money, but the memories you create, then people are always gonna remember who you are. Always. That's good or bad. So, but you got a few guys around that, you hear different names. Well, he's kind of a hothead. He kind of doesn't. I don't do any of that with any of my customers or any friends of mine on the boat. Now if something goes down and we may have to defend ourselves. Me and Trent have been shot at. The guy was bird hunting and the lead hit my boat.
Holy
He's
crap.
shooting ducks over us. Yeah. And that's a different situation, because I had to holler over at the guy, dude, I'm not going to shoot in the air. We're here fishing, you're shooting, and your buckshot is hitting my boat, and he went on and took off like he's supposed to, but be a good hostess. I keep water on the boat. I'm informative. They ask, you kind of got to step in because people like to reel your weights up to the top of your pole. It's all the fishing trip is all on the guide. That's why people are paying you to take them fishing. So the atmosphere you set up for them, the way you make them feel welcome, the way they're going to remember the fish, that picture that they're going to show everybody when they get back to work. Oh, this is that's how you get these pictures. But be a hostess. I would say that's the most important thing, is being a good hostess.
Do you ever have an issue? Have you had any issues with people before?
Any of my customers? No. Other fishermen? Yes.
Yeah, there's something to mediocre anglers that I don't know. Seems like they think, I don't know. I don't know what it is.
There's that one guy that one time
local. It seems to be a local angler.
Yes, it is a local. I fished his lake for 25 years. So basically, I nosed up in some reeds. The fish were right out on a point. It was a 5. I mean, we were nailing them. The gentleman couldn't make it that actually booked the trip, so he sent his father and his daughter. So I got a young little impressionable child on my boat, and an old man, their father-in-law, he cracked me up. But we were nosed up on the point, and I had a guy literally come around the corner on trolling motor, 25 feet behind my boat, go across my lines, and I said, dude, we were here. My boat's long enough sticking out of the reeds, you can see.
Yeah, we're not saying that's fishing, but I think, ignorance.
I fished this lake for 20 years. Dude, really? What does that matter? We're all fishermen. There's no reason. There's a whole lake out here for not to be a a-hole out on,
I'd agree. I have a lot of new guys that fish with me because they want to learn, or they say, "Hey, can I come fish?" And I have a hard time telling anybody no that wants to come fish and catch something big and do something fun. I've only had one issue out of all the guys I've ever had on the boat. I've only had one person that got upset with me. It's because we caught 14 fish that day. We were trophy catfish angling. Yeah. And I think the biggest one was about 15 pounds. And at the end of the day, I apologized to the guy.
Exactly.
I said, I'm sorry, I suck. I suck today.
Yeah.
I apologize. We come out. I know we've come out here to catch something big, and I didn't get it done. I just want to tell you, I'm sorry. This is the worst, one of my worst trophy catfish trips I've had in years. I apologize. It was my fault.
Right.
I felt like I should have zigged when I should have zagged. I went to an area. We were catching fish, and I might should have done something a little different. At the end, I just felt like it was me, and I sucked. And it turns out that he got upset that he said he told another guy I know that was the best fishing trip he'd ever had, and it made him feel bad that I said that I suck. And I called him. I said, I just got a different expectation for myself.
Yeah.
When I'm trophy catfishing, I expect to catch trophy catfish. It's not a every now and then type deal. I want to do it every trip, and we didn't do it. And I felt like it was a big letdown, not just for you, but for me too. And, so
I add on to that, kind of like Chris says, I texted him earlier, me, Trent, Chris, so you can only get lake information at the lake, but if your buddies have been out there and, look, I did this, I did that, you can kind of critique yourself too as a.
Yeah. If something's not working, you can say, and one of your buddies got something different figured out. That's how I became 1,000 times better anglers, because guys that were doing it better than I was doing it, or had figured something out when I got my ass kicked, because usually now fishing is fishing, but there's usually somebody who's got something a little bit more figured out than you did, and you did poorly.
Right.
And I just at a certain point I said I just gonna have to relinquish my pride and just try to learn, because I don't like having bad trips. And if you're out there kicking ass, Vess, and I did poorly, I'm gonna say, man, what did you do? What was what depth were you in? What bait did you use? And what did you do differently than maybe I tried to do? And I know every lake's different, but I do feel like if you're friendly towards your your other buddies that are doing well, that your game will definitely step up. And me and we talked about it last week when Juan was on here. There's something too about being a friendly angler and helping guys. And how can you expect somebody else to help you who's better than you if you don't help somebody who's maybe not quite as good as you? So somebody asks you for help, be willing to help and pay it forward, because maybe you're going to be the next guy that needs the help. And
it's such things, even being friendly, because if you're that guy nobody wants to help, like, people get stuck on the lakes. I remember one time, as a matter of fact, the drought of 2018, Eagle Mountain Lake. You come out of you can see the mud. I mean, I could, and I knew it was there. And that's another thing I tell people now. I'm getting a boat. Don't get on these lakes without a lake map. Dude, just don't even do it. I don't care if you have a lake map, you can at least see what's there or what's supposed to be there.
Yeah.
That's so much of a problem. But I pulled one summer, I kid you not, right out of Lakeview Marina, I pulled 9 boats in a week's time. I was off for a week for something, but 9 every day I went out there was a boat or 2 stuck on a flat. and it's just situational awareness too, being out there and knowing what's in that water, where to go and where not to go, and where to go fast and where not to go fast, But I had old beat up pontoons when I first started fishing these lakes with, and that 90 horses pulled so many thousands of horsepower that couldn't do anything for them because they didn't know. But being nice to guys, I ran into a guy here recently, didn't recognize him. He remembered me pulling him off. Man, you're the guy in the pontoon. You had your sons on there, and you pulled us off. Remember, the rope snapped back and hit my buddy in the chest. The guy had a welt, right? And I said, dude, don't stand by it. Snap. It was too late. It was like, wow. I mean, it sounded like
Yeah, this is a dock line. This ain't a tow strap.
yeah, from
Come on,
100
man.
feet, man. From 100 feet, and that thing whipped through the water and smacked that dude. I'm talking, he had a. Oh man.
Oh man,
Ooh,
God, that's good.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt. But
Joe Baker said, "Do
friendly
you
guys,
carry any
that.
snacks, Vess?"
Say again.
Joe Baker says, "Vess, do you carry any snacks?"
You know what? So being a diabetic, I don't do a lot of. I take water. I eat pecans and jerky if I eat them, but I don't eat heavy on the boat anymore. I used to be the guy that go get the big, the Whataburger and a double cheese on the way to the lake,
Yeah,
But I
my
don't do
son's
that.
the big snacker.
And,
I typically don't eat much.
Your body regulates your temperature and stuff a lot better, and cover up. A lot of guys, I'm not wearing long sleeve. You're going to be just as hot in the short sleeve as you are in the long sleeve.
Yeah.
Without the radiation, sun's good for a lot of us for a certain period of time. Us fishermen tend to be out there for hours on end.
Yeah, no doubt. I got a T-top, so that helps quite a bit.
Yep.
Dan Weldon said chicken necks work well, I hear, with red Kool-Aid.
Oh my God, that's a different
garlic.
We'd have moved off the breast to the necks now, huh? Plain chicken works. I've used it. It works. I've tried it with the Kool-Aid. I didn't notice any difference. Plain chicken works, and I'm mad that I'm wasting Kool-Aid, but then I'm mad wasting good chicken breast that could have went on the grill too. So
if I got chicken on the boat, it's me eating it.
Right.
I typically bring meals on the boat like a lot of guys. I'm hoping there's no time to eat. You know
exactly.
what I mean? It's a lot of work to our style of fishing. So
now that's a different rule application for me, because when my boys are young and I had them on the boat, you got to feed the mouth.
Dude, my son's got it's like a Lamborghini payment for my son's snack.
Yeah. We got
dude, I could drive a Lamborghini if I didn't pay for his snacks.
Oh yeah. You get the hoagies at Walmart, the little hoagie sandwiches. I knew how to just that goldfish.
Oh yeah, he likes chips, jerky.
So
he
but by myself, it's
Lunchables.
Yeah.
Gatorade, Prime, water, all of it.
Turn around to get the pop can that all of a sudden flew out when I turned my back. Yeah. So.
Oh yeah. Anybody that's fished with me has heard me yelling at my son for trash blowing out.
Yep, we don't do that.
Like, got to turn around and go get this freaking bag of trash you let me.
Yep.
Oh man, Ryan said Roberts has that on the west arm, that big shallow point.
Yes, it does. I know.
Yeah, that's a great point. I've caught some good fish off of that.
And I'll give this one away because it was given to me. Those power poles on Ray Roberts are a very good spot. One set of them is actually out of any wind that you can get south, north, east, or west, and it sits on a cove and it drops from 2 foot to 35 foot, and it's on a point at that. There's good fish there. I like Ray Roberts. Ray Roberts is a very now where I live. I hate crossing over into Dallas traffic. That's just my I've been all week for work, and when I'm off work, I do not like Dallas traffic. So I fish local lakes, but big fish is calling me Texoma until it gets back in the 60s, 70s for us. That's where I'll be, Texoma.
Yeah, I tend to work. My work is traveling. Like, I drive. You know, it's about an hour. Now, a lot of guys drive a lot further than me, but I'm willing to go drive about an hour. And Texoma's an hour, 20 minutes. I used to drive to Walkeny every weekend. It was an hour and 20 minutes.
Yes, hour 45.
I feel like that's within striking distance. I can drive there and drive back in one day without having to spend the night. It's comfortable. So
Ryan Smith says, always have a problem with other fishermen. I know a
Chris
couple guys.
Garcia says, "What main lake do you fish, Vess?"
I like to move around. I don't like to be on one lake. I
That's me
really,
too.
I can't really say for quick home within an hour. You catch me on Worth a lot.
Yeah, Worth's a good lake for
Yeah,
20 to
for
40
learning
fish.
purposes, and it gives you a little bit of everything: heavy snag, decent sized fish, numbers of fish. Worth
Yeah.
is a very good learning lake, and if you actually go on YouTube between Tawakoni, Lake Fort, and Lake Worth, you probably find more videos on all of those lakes out that include fishing.
Yeah.
Then you get in any other subject. Louisville is the top lake, and then
Yeah, and it's probably the worst one out of the whole bunch.
Yeah.
It's so
I'm a
hammered.
YouTuber. I would have been dangerous as a kid with YouTube, but that's all. That's my TV is. Well, that's like Chris was like, I might cancel the show. No, I can't let you do that. I'll co-host with you tonight.
Yeah, it's been a good show, man. We've got a good crowd in here too. It's been fun. Yeah, Vess travels. I like to travel.
I like to
travel
change
fishing.
Yeah,
Just switching it up and not seeing the same stuff constantly.
It's the hunt. I think it has to do with the hunt. It really is. It's part of the
every trip you got to go hunt.
Yeah, you got to hunt them. Yeah,
I've been on now for 2 months, but every trip's so good. It's like
you just been waiting on the cold so you can go Texoma.
now it's like, all right, today I'm like, people are like, where would you go? Where would you go? I'm like, well, Texoma's calling my name now.
Warm up and run off. That's the first thing I thought about.
I just love dragging that inlet, man.
Yeah.
I've never been on another fishery that has such large fish up in an area where I can drag.
Yeah.
Like crazy big fish up in there. I am not fishing twisted cats. My son's got a basketball game Saturday, and I've had so many guys asking me to fish it with them. And I'm like, I would love to, but I can't miss my son's basketball game. And
me personally, I've kind of given my love to if I fish any tournaments, it's gonna be out of state. If I go back to Kansas to fish any, but CT has kind of grown on me. They're kind of family. All them guys now. Don't get me wrong, it's grown to a really big. It used to be 20, 25 boats. 30 was a really good tournament. Now they're averaging 50, 60 boats. You know, that's a lot of boats. Like for when they had the Waco tournament.
Yeah,
that's a lot of boats on Waco. That's a tournament. Yeah. That's a lot of. Man. I'm pretty sure planer board getting tangled up in do-si-doing out there.
One thing fishing next to your buddy, it's not fishing next to your competitor.
And how do you not fish on top of somebody in a tournament like that? But I wanted to fish the Hubbard one, but like I said, we were talking about Manny early, Milton's buddy. Manny knows that lake. I'd love to have Manny in the boat to fish that tournament. Manny, he pulls the flathead out of that damn lake every time. And I'm talking about a monster. So, yeah. I'd love to fish it, but I just didn't have time. I had some other stuff going on. Now I got some clients Saturday too. So, but the Dallas traffic is just y'all. I understand. Monday through Friday, I average 800 to 1,000 miles just in the Metroplex. That's just Monday through Friday. That's no overtime. That's 8-hour days. And I usually work 20 to 30 hours a week overtime. So I get tired of Dallas traffic. That's my biggest.
I don't blame you. Yeah, it's big.
That's my biggest.
Southern Stream says he feels like he needs to get good at Roberts before traveling. Lot of work to do. And I get that. I'd say that's kind of how that's how I sharpen my teeth or cut my teeth is I got good on Louisville, and I fished it for so long heavily, and my buddy's like, man, you get good on Louisville, you'll be good on any lake. And I feel like Ray Roberts is similar fishery to what Louisville used to be. Obviously they're no longer the same lake, but the way Louisville used to be, it was a heavily timbered lake.
not only the acreage of Ray Roberts, but you get out the main driftable parts of Ray Roberts, the water depth is average 40 to 50 foot.
Yeah, it's got a lot of deep water.
Yeah, it didn't have a lot of flats, nothing like that. You either fishing 30 foot or 50 foot if you're going to be drifting. And if you're in the 30-foot areas, them guys, I've seen some crappie guys build timber out there so thick with piles. And I'm talking about some of the biggest crappie huts you can find is on Ray Roberts. That's the other thing about it.
It's got big crappie, big bass, big gizzard shad.
Yeah.
It's a healthy lake.
But time on the water anytime, southern streams is what conditions you. Because you're not going to do the same thing everywhere. So you got to have some tricks in the bag. But
I always tell guys, find what works for you and get real good at that. And then once you get good at that, start adding little layers to your game. You cannot learn all this stuff quickly.
Yeah.
Not freaking possible. It will overwhelm you and you'll not do good at any of it. But if you can figure out what works for you, get good at that, and then start adding layers, it starts becoming just much easier once you have confidence in what you're doing. And then you start finding a little success doing it a little different way. That success builds more confidence. So, whether you're anchoring or dragging, whatever you're doing, figure that certain part out real good and then branch out and add layers to it. It doesn't happen quickly. There is no quick path to it. I guarantee you there's just not. Even with all the knowledge that you can gain off of social media like YouTube and stuff, once you learn that, you actually have to go put it into use and do it. And before you have confidence, you can see it done on YouTube, but to do it yourself, that's what actually builds the confidence. So success is going to build the confidence. Once you have the confidence, then you know what to do, when to do it, how to do it, why you're doing it. It all becomes just second nature. So I do get figuring out your home lake and then branching out. That's the way to do it for sure.
And that's what I use when I go to a different lake. I'll look for similarities. Like if I was fishing a drop and I was catching them fish, temperature's still about the same. Within a week, 2 weeks of my last fishing trip out, I'll start looking for similarities on that lake to start, and then I'll go and do my thing. And there again, like I said, I wasn't big on drifting until about 2 to 3 years ago. Well, actually, when I bought my boat in 20, I set it up for drifting. I said, I'm going to learn this because I was drifting off the pontoon. My pontoon was 20 foot, so I was able to drift sideways, and I had some success. Me and my son won a couple fishing tournaments, drifting sideways off a pontoon. I bought that boat, set it up for drifting, and like I said, the Carolina Lake weights fit right into my program where I didn't have to change anything. So that was my biggest draw to Carolina Lake weights. And what you use, I no different ties, no different leader line, no different. I did everything. All I did is clip on a different weight. And I went out and smoked them. In a couple hours, I probably put 300 pounds of fish in the boat by myself one day on what lake was that? That would have been on matter of fact, I was on Word. 25, 30, 40. Just one after the other. I got to a point, I started off with 6 poles. I could barely keep 2 to 3 without going. And I drifted the same line back and forth twice, and I was just wore out. So then I'm comfortable now, so I can go.
Yeah, you build that confidence. Yeah.
And that's like me. I plan to go. I go back home. I grew up in Kansas. I'm going back to Milford this March, and last year I had my nephew out. Put him on a PB, and so the guys were there pre-fishing. I had something going on my rotator cuff. I bought bait off of a guy at the boat ramp, frozen bait at that. I was like, oh, this is really going to suck. Man, we went out and had a phenomenal time. There's 20 boats out there pre-fishing for a tournament they were having the next week. We were drifting through the boats catching fish, and they weren't catching fish. But all it was what I did, how I fished was working. My weight setup, my bait setup was working. I seen a lot of boats doing. They were drifting too slow or drifting too fast. We cut that one right through the middle and marked. I just stayed with the bait. The bait and the fish, you can see them moving. I mean, the biomass was just there, and I stayed with it.
Presentation, man. Yep. Presentation is key, especially when, dragging is when it really becomes even more fine-tuned. You know, you can be around 5 other dudes and they barely even catch a fish, but your presentation was a little bit different, and the way you did it makes them want to bite. I think when I figured out the presentation parts, when my game really exploded to a whole different level, is really understanding presentation. Before that, I was just fishing. I didn't really get it. I mean, I figured if I'm in the right spot and I got bait down there, they're going to eat it. But I didn't really, and I think that when you start becoming a really higher level type angler, the presentation is the key difference between just going out there and, you know, doing well one day and then not understanding why the next day you're not doing.
Well, what the hell? Fish are here.
Yeah, the fish are here. Why am I not catching them? And I hear this guy right over here. He's freaking smoking them. What's he doing different? You know, is it just luck? It's generally not just luck. So,
I'm gonna get you a shirt, Chris. Me and Trent have made it official. The FTF shirt.
All right, I love it, man. I love it.
I'm gonna get you and Jamie a shirt.
So, guys, last time me and Vess fished together, we fished up at Texoma, and we were on a 2 different massive piles of fish. God. They were 10 feet thick. We were marking giants. We had one good. We almost had one. It probably would have changed just a single fish. Probably would have changed our fish. We lost it, but we were on huge piles of fish. I think we got an 18 or a 20 pounder that day. We may have caught 4 fish the whole freaking day. And I looked at Vess. I'm like, you think these fish would just want to jump in the boat and get a picture with us? That ain't how it works. So we need to go get redemption, Vess.
We're gonna do
and we need to go do it up there at Texoma on that lake. So it's about time we go do that, man.
Yes, sir.
Leland Loy says, how long after a good rain before you think they move into the shallow and inflow? And I'll tell you this, Leland, before the rain, they will generally start migrating towards the area. They might not move up into it, but they will move out of the area that they were in, and they will start moving towards it. And if there is a big rain event, they begin moving up in it as the rain starts falling. So as soon as there's inflow and as soon as that rain is falling, they start moving up into it.
I'll do you one better. How dry do you want to be?
They're generally around it for about 3 days as well. So anywhere after
I'll get out there in the rain. If it starts raining, we get a full day of rain in, and it's still raining. As long as it's not lightning, I'll be up. I'll be up going toward the flow. Definitely.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Joshua McPherson says, "How is Cedar Lake?" And I expect he's saying Cedar Creek.
Cedar Creek. There's some pigs in Cedar Creek.
Cedar Creek's another good lake, heavily timbered, a lot of crappie. It's got some good depth, a lot of structure. It's a good lake. It gets heavily fished. Get a lot of juggers. Got a lot of guys keeping fish down there, but it's still there's a lot of timber.
Good fishery. Yes, it is.
Makes for a protected fishery. Anytime a fishery's got a lot of timber, it's somewhat protected from
Now,
a
I'll
lot.
tell you what, that's one lake you do want to check your wind forecast on. I any memories in the last 15, 20 years, that's the one that sticks out. We had waves so big, we were crossing underneath the bridge to go back to the boat ramp. The wave picked us up and almost pushed us literally into the bottom of the bridge. That's how big the waves are.
Oh man.
It was me and Houston. We were fishing a tournament up there. Yeah.
Leland says he grew up fishing Milford.
Oh,
I
man.
told Vess on last show and try to get you in contact with Kevin Parks because he fishes right up
So,
there.
2001, I fished the U.S. Cats tournament, my very first tournament. I actually seen Kevin Parks and them guys catching them blues, and that turned me on. See, I lived in west or east of them in East Kansas, so I fished the Caw, Wakarusa rivers and stuff like that. I went and fished a tournament with name is Cat Daddy. Randy Shumway is his name. Fished my first tournament, U.S. Cats tournament in the year 2001, and seen them guys catch them blues. That did it for me. I was baked in. It was done. So I wanted to catch those fish. Back then, there wasn't a lot of blue fishing, let alone in the rivers there. So mostly heads and channel cats, big channel cats. But yeah.
Kevin was one of the first guys to master dragging with planer boards.
I mean, he was killing the tournaments up there. I mean, killing the tournaments. Yeah.
He was coming down here and winning.
Yeah.
He come to Texas to Tawakoni and smoked all. And I can tell you guys, it's not hard. It's not easy for a guy to come from out of state and beat our guys.
Beat us. 2 days in two tournaments back to back on Tawakoni. I remember that he won 2 big tournaments back to back, and they were like, that old Missouri guy and that Kansas guy, you got to get them out of here. They're drifting. That's what it was. They were drifting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With planer boards.
With planer boards.
Like,
yeah.
All right.
First ones to do
what are these planer board deals? So. Southern Street says he loves dragging, but it's hard in a pontoon. It's like a damn sailboat.
Bigger windsocks, brother. 10 foot.
Yeah, you're not. In a pontoon, you are more like it's more of a drifting game.
Yeah.
You're going to line up like we all used to do. And you try to line up and find a few things in that drift line that you can try to hit.
I went out with Tom Gravely on Louisville, and guess what he used for a drift sock? A damn trampoline. He had a pole system hooked up, and he had a 15-foot trampoline damn thing for drift. Dead ass. Yeah. A whole trampoline to slow that pontoon down. 22-foot pontoon.
Billy says Cedar Creek's got lots of crappie.
Yes, sir.
That's for sure.
Yes, sir.
It's a good blue cat lake.
Yeah, it is.
It's loaded with crappie. Most timber lakes going to be like that. That's Levon. It's got a bunch of crappie in it. Most of these lakes that got a lot of big blues are either going to have a big crappie, a big sand bass, striper, any of those types of game fish that are real prolific in a lake going to feed those fish.
I've seen multiple fish over 50 come out of 2 foot of water on Cedar Creek. Multiple fish.
Yeah, I used to see a lot bigger fish coming out of Cedar Creek. I don't know if it's been hammered so much, but there's still good ones in there, obviously. Hopefully they'll leave my lake I've been fishing alone. Oh, man. Well, Vess, you got a guide trip Saturday with some.
Saturday.
What lake?
I think I'm gonna take them to Levon. I think I'm gonna go to Levon. They live close to there, and they're wanting some eater fish. I want trophy fish, so Sunday I might be on Texoma.
Well, I mean, it's hard not to catch some big fish on no matter where you're. Like, if you're in around the fish, you're probably gonna catch some good ones. So.
Yeah, I got to downsize my bait to get them some eaters. Cause I fish for 150 pounder every time I go.
That's like me. I throw such big baits. The guys that are with me are like, God Almighty, what are you trying to catch? A shark?
Yeah.
I was like, you'd be surprised with what'll hit this bait that's this size. You'd be surprised. You catch smalls. I mean, not tiny ones, but you can catch smaller fish with them. Just not very many. Nathan, good luck on the twisted cats, bro. Ryan Smith says his wife asked how long this goes on. We just go until we're tired of flapping our gums. So it looks like we're probably getting close to the end, Ryan.
Yes, sir.
But we get that a lot. We just go until we're done. So we don't put a time frame on it. What ramp you going in at Saturday, says Dan Weldon.
Me? I launch at Little Ridge.
Even when you're going shallow?
Even when I'm going shallow.
Okay.
Yep. Little Ridge, yep.
Little Ridge is a nice ramp. It's a crappy road getting in there, but good ramp.
Yeah, good ramp. Baits readily available right there in the cove.
Yeah. Yeah, that bait, the good bait's been out about 300 yards from the dam.
Yep.
Like about last 3 trips. I don't know where it'll be for you after this rain.
I'm expecting everything to go 10 foot or less. That's probably where I'm going to start my day. If I don't see something on the wake and I'm the guy that's on plane, let's go look real quick and I'll swing that boat around. So,
Rebecca and Jamie said they loved the show tonight. Ryan said that's pretty much what he told her. LOL. Great show, gents. Appreciate the wisdom and the advice. Appreciate you stopping in, Owen. Appreciate you, Juan. Appreciate everybody for coming in, spending some time with us. Vess, good as always, man. We need to get back out there and get redemption, bro.
I'm definitely ready.
We're due. So maybe you got a trip booked next weekend?
Nope. No.
Well, warm up all week.
I do actually. I'll be my son's 22nd birthday. Me and him are taking the father-son. We're taking a little 3-day cruise.
Oh, where y'all going?
Carnival. I'm going to the bar.
I love it. Oh man, it's good. I hope
the week after that
sounds like that's going to be a good time, man.
Yeah, the week after.
I'll be up there freaking at Texoma, and I'll be sending you some pictures, buddy.
That ain't right.
I'm hoping I get me a giant. So.
Yes, sir.
Maybe I'll finally get that hundo in the boat.
He's in there too.
All right. Well, Dan says I'll look for you Saturday. Won't bother you with your guests.
Oh man,
Dan, all our people are more than happy to say hello and make hands. So make sure you go say hello to Beth. So.
Just don't run across my lines. That's all I ask.
Rebecca and Jamie said the big 22. And Josh says tight lines and fish on, baby.
Yes, sir.
Guys, tight lines. God bless. Cool out.